It's game 2 of a 3-game series, White Sox and Tigers, right here on WGN TV, featuring 2 of the greatest hitters in Major League Baseball. For the White Sox, Jose Abreu, and for Detroit, Miggy Cabrera, right here on WGN, game number 161. In for the Hawk, this Chuck Swirsky, always a pleasure, joined alongside Cy Young Award winner in Steve Stone. A milestone last night here in Chicago featuring Chris Sale. But how about tonight, Steve? An engaging pitching matchup.
There's no doubt when you see one of the best, and that's Verlander, who's having a tough year this year, against a kid who looks like he's taking a claim for the rotation next year. It is an engaging confrontation, and we're going to see it here. It starts with Justin Verlander. Last time we saw him in Detroit, he was surprising in that he started out throwing 92, 93. He eventually got it up to 98 or 99, and that was vintage Verlander. However, injuries have spoiled his year. On the other side of the equation, Eric Johnson, who last time out against the Yankees lost the ball game, but only gave him 2 earned runs. And Johnson has thrown it well. He's 3-1. His ERA is in the 3s. Here you see a home run he gives up to Dustin Ackley, but by and large, he's kept the ball in the ballpark. When he's given up home runs, they've been solo home runs, and there's no doubt, looking ahead, realizing that this team needs a right-hander, he wants to be that right-hander. As you look at last time we saw Verlander and the last time Eric Johnson was out, Verlander threw very well. Eric Johnson threw pretty well. But it's going to be a nice confrontation tonight, and we're going to see it right here on a night that's a little cold. Not the greatest night to pitch.
That's all right. I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to this, Steve. Love talking baseball with you, as you know. And stay tuned for a special thank you video from the White Sox to our great fans who have supported the team this season. We'll return in Chicago in a moment.
Everybody's got a story they must tell, and you got yours and I got mine. All the times you felt the pain and seen the glory, it feels good to be alive. Now I can hear the sound of heartbeats all around. You know there's magic in the night. Yeah, when you feel all alone, like you're so far from home, something
and a 6. Yeah! Yeah!
Monday comes around, your world is upside down, feeling good in the worst way. The story's just beginning, time we did some living. I can't wait to hear you say, it's on the radio, it's everywhere we go, the music's gonna save your life. Yeah. So come on, clap your hands, remember when we dance, and raise your glass tonight. So here's to us, all our broken dreams that never came to pass. We're still kings and queens. Here's to all we loved, it wasn't meant to last. Here's to everyone who said we never had a chance. Here's to us.
Base hit, and this ball game is over.
The night feels so long when your heart's not filled with song. May your dreams never leave you, even when you lost it all. So here's to us, all our broken dreams that never came to pass. We're still kings and queens. Here's to all we loved that wasn't meant to last. Here's to everyone who said we never had a chance. Here's to us. Oh. Here's to us. Here's to
And we are underway here in Chicago with the White Sox and Tigers alongside Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone. This is Chuck Swirsky. Johnson with the first pitch of the ball game, fouled off to Anthony Gose.
Gose, a pretty solid player, usually in a platoon system with Rajay Davis. He's getting the nod tonight. And Eric Johnson going after win number 4. He's got a good slider. His fastball normally is pretty well controlled to go with a straight change.
Gose doubled last night, Steve, in 2 at-bats, 5 homers, 26 RBIs, batting .254. This is his 139th game. Game 2 of a 3-game series. Chris Sale masterful last night. against this Detroit ball club. We're having a matchup with the White Sox and Tigers, two disappointing ball clubs this year in the Central Division.
I think both teams came into this season thinking they'd be in contention.
Those swings and misses. Nice way to start the ball game for Johnson.
Let's take a look at how Brad Ausmus is going to line up his Tigers. Anthony Gose, who you just saw. Then it's Ian Kinsler, Miguel Cabrera, J.D. Martinez having a huge year. Tyler Collins, Nick Castellanos, Steven Moya, Dixon Machado, and Alex Avila to round it out.
That's going to bring on Ian Kinsler. Kinsler, 11 homers, 73 RBIs, batting .299. Steve and I were just talking about off the air about Kinsler and his unbelievable ability just not only to get on base, but what he gives a ball club, Steve. And, you know, when that deal was consummated, Prince Fielder going over to Texas for Kinsler, a lot of times, you know, you say when a trade's made, well, that team got the best of the deal. But in this case, I think both teams benefited.
Well, I think Detroit also had another reason to move Prince, and we'll talk about that after this pitch is delivered. It's on the outside corner for a strike. They wanted to move Prince because they wanted to move Miggy Cabrera from third base to first, where his body ostensibly wouldn't take as much of a beating. Kinsler coming back was certainly a bonus, as the Tigers were looking for a second baseman, and Kinsler's a good one. And this year, Prince Fielder has a huge bounce-back year for Texas. By the way, the Rangers trying to clinch today, gave up 5 runs in the 9th to the Angels and lost that game 11-10. And for the Angels, they lose that one. Probably their wild card dreams are over. Winning that game now puts a whole lot of pressure on Houston tonight. If Houston doesn't win, they're going to be in a dead tie with the Angels. As it is, they've got a game lead, or a half game now, pending the outcome of tonight's game.
It was a wild ball game. It swung on, deep fly ball to left field, and it's going to be foul.
We'll take a look at Eric Johnson, looking for his 4th win. 3.45 ERA. This is 6th start. Kinsler hit the daylights out of that one. Fortunately for Eric, that one hooked in front of the pole, and it's just a long strike.
3-2 pitch. Chopped away. Wins above replacement. Kinsler is 10th in the American League, over 6 per game. That's how valuable he is.
And you get into the +6 range, you're not only an everyday player, but you also fall into that star category, and he's one of those.
He is a star, 4-time All-Star. You know, speaking not only with Rick Hahn, Don Cooper, Robin Ventura about Johnson, Steve, they feel that he has put himself now in a position going into spring training for 2016 with an opportunity here, maybe for a good look-see for a starting spot in the rotation. Obviously, it's up to Johnson. Catch made in center field by Adam Eaton.
Let's take a look at how they're going to line up behind Eric Johnson tonight. It's Trace Thompson, Adam Eaton, and Avisail Garcia in the outfield, with Mike Holt, Alexei Ramirez, Carlos Sanchez, and Jose Abreu in the infield. Rob Brantley gets the start behind the plate. He was very familiar with Eric from catching him in AAA, and Eric Johnson on the hill. And I think if you look at the numbers, Chuck, I think it's pretty obvious that the Sox will be in need of 1, possibly 2 right-handers going into next year. You have to figure Jeff Samardzija is going to be lost to free agency, and he's the only right-hander out of the rotation at this point. So you got 4 lefties. Certainly you need 1, and who knows what happens in the wintertime. You might need more than 1 right-hander.
That brings on Miggy Cabrera, leading the American League in batting at .334, looking for his 4th batting crown in the past 5 years. And we're going to talk a little about Cabrera during the course of the ball game. He's put up some staggering stats once again in a Detroit uniform. Healthy swing of the best by Cabrera. But Steve, I think you're right, and the thing is that, you know, you're given an opportunity, and that's all players can ask for, is an opportunity to make the most of it. In the case of Eric Johnson, he was the pitcher of the year in the International League with Charlotte.
And I talked to him about that, and I asked him about what he goes through before each and every start. He goes out there between innings, throws a couple of warm-up pitches in front of the mound, and he works quickly. He says, by working quickly, I think I have much better rhythm and can throw strikes.
There's a line shot to left field for a base hit for Cabrera, so that will definitely help that average, and also a 963 OPS. He's just an amazing player, Steve.
Yeah, there's really no way that Xander Bogaerts going to be able to catch him, and so this is just icing on the cake. You make a mistake, and this is a mistake. A big breaking ball that he rolls. It doesn't break very sharply, and Miggy able to pull it into left field. So not only is he gifted with as much talent as anybody in baseball, he's also one of the smartest hitters in baseball.
That's going to bring on J.D. Martinez, 0 for 3 last night with a strikeout and a walk. J.D. Martinez once again having another solid season, his second in a Detroit uniform.
And one of the things you look back on, Chuck, when you look at J.D., you wonder about the computers that Jeff Luhnow employs in Houston.
Tell me more.
They let him go.
Yes. Now, he did reinvent his swing 2 years ago prior to the 2014 season. And, Steve, you know the mechanics better than anybody in Major League Baseball. And whatever he worked on with the muscle memory and whatnot, it has worked because he has really done a fabulous job coming over to Detroit. I mean, he's arbitration eligible. He's going to get paid.
Well, also, he's got tremendous power, as 38 home runs would indicate.
Yes. I mean, he's looking to become the 7th player in Tiger history to hit 40. He's going to need, obviously, some production either tonight or tomorrow. But let me give you an idea, Steve, as far as 40 homers or more in a Tiger uniform. Norm Cash, Rocky Colavito, Darrell Evans, Cecil Fielder, Miggy Cabrera, and also Hank Greenberg. And for our listeners who are familiar with some of the names, not all the names, you should Google Hank Greenberg, one of the most unappreciated players in Major League Baseball history. And I mean that sincerely. He was an unbelievable talent, and also his character off the field as well. He went through a lot.
Well, there's no doubt, and Hawk can attest to that. He's not here tonight, away on some personal business, but Hawk played against him, and I think maybe with him. And so he knows Hank personally. He remembers the 58 home run year.
That's a cold strike. That's in the half inning. We go to the bottom of the first as Johnson gets it done. We'll return in a moment on WGN TV.
Your home for the most live sports, and let's take a look at how Robin is going to line them up tonight in the penultimate game of the season. Adam Eaton leading it off, and it's Jose Abreu, Melky Cabrera, the DH, then Trace Thompson, Alexei Ramirez, Rob Brantley, Abisail Garcia, Mike Olton, Carlos Sanchez rounding it out. The defense and how they'll line up behind Justin Verlander, Collins, Gose, and Moya in the outfield, with Castellanos, Machado, Kinsler, and Cabrera in the infield. Alex Avila gets a nod behind the plate, and Justin Verlander on the hill. He's 5-8 this year. His ERA still pretty respectable at 3.39. This is his 20th start.
So Adam Eaton will step in against Verlander. Eaton with a 21-game on-base streak. where he's hitting a sizzling .365. Now, Steve, you were in Detroit and saw Verlander against the Sox. He was popping that mid, what, 98, 99?
Well, that was later on when he needed it, but it's nice, and I think for him it's nice, as well as the Tigers, to realize that he still has that, because he didn't look like he had it earlier in the ballgame.
Well, Verlander injured his triceps in spring training. It was the first time ever on the DL. His earned run average, folks, on July the 19th was a whopping 6.62. His next 13 starts, 2.22. And in that span now, opponents are batting .206. So is it a case of being healthy, Steve?
Well, that's all it is, because when he's healthy, he's awfully good. But the trend for him was not particularly good. And that trend was 3 straight years coming into this year of an ERA that was slowly rising with each and every year, and a whip that was also going up, as well as strikeouts per 9 innings going down. So it could be just the fact that he's thrown a whole lot of innings, the fact that he's been around a long time, also throws a whole lot of pitches every time he goes out. And it's just a case where probably not quite as strong as he would like. Certainly injuries played a big part in it this year, because when you look at the numbers of Verlander, they're most un-Verlander-like.
1-2 pitch to Adam Eaton. Well, Verlander was not only the Rookie of the Year, he's a 6-time All-Star. He won the Cy Young, as my broadcast partner Steve Stone, for Verlander in 2011 when he went 24-5. So you got Verlander there. You won 25 ball games.
Right. I mean, that's easy for him because he's got great stuff. That's the thing. If you've got great stuff, well, then you wind up winning a whole lot, and he has that. I mean, coming into this year, 152-89. There you look at the numbers, 157-97. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's 60 over 500. And granted, he's played for some good teams, but he's been overwhelming most of his career.
No doubt about that. 2-2 pitch. Right up the middle for a base hit. And tonight's picks to click. Let's see the crew, and we have a great crew, which we appreciate. Took Alexei Ramirez, the me man Steve Stone with Melky, and I took Adam Eaton right on cue there.
No, it looks like a terrific pick. The fact that you just picked it after the base hit shouldn't count. But, you know, look, we give you a lot of leeway here.
That's right.
And we thank you for being here, pinch hitting for my partner, Ken Harrelson.
Yes.
He will be back, however, for the Swan Song tomorrow afternoon. That game, by the way, starts at 2 o'clock. And I know there's nothing else going on Sunday, so hopefully you'll be with us.
So, Jose Abreu, you have just brought your A game again, Steve. Jose Abreu with 30 homers, 101 RBIs, batting .292. He's hitting .381 over the last 7 games.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that has just been magnificent for 2 years, and that's all he's been in the league is 2 years. But every time the league thinks they've figured him out, and they'll do that by trying to look at some soft spots, he makes an adjustment to them. And that's one of the things that characterized Jose in the first 2 years, was the fact that he can adjust pitch to pitch, certainly at bat to at bat, a lot like Miggy Cabrera can.
Well, this is a great stat on Abreu. He has faced 9 former Cy Young Award winners in his career. He's hitting .308. And against Verlander, he is 8 of 18, batting .444.
Well, the first 2 times he saw him, both in Detroit and then here last year, he homered over the center field wall in both places. Pretty impressive in Detroit because it's .420. Very impressive here. It's only .400, but he took it into the foliage in center field. So he is not shy against the better pitchers around.
With that, I'm eating the board at first. 1-1 count on Jose Abreu with Verlander on the mound against the White Sox. And Abreu pops it up on the skid of the infield, racing in without wind, with Mother Nature doing her thing as Adam Eaton hustles back to first.
You know, the best way to use statistics, Chuck, is to use them to illustrate a point. Now, you gave the numbers of Jose Abreu against the Cy Young Award winners he's faced. That really goes to a larger point, that being there's a lot of guys that make a tremendous amount of money in this game hitting the 3rd, 4th, and 5th starters and the middle relievers. They really kill those guys. But when the good guys come out, the 1 and 2s and the setup men and the closers, they don't do a whole lot. Jose is not one of those hitters. He saves his best for the best, and he views it as a personal challenge. When you have a hitter like that, he's phenomenally valuable to you.
But Milwaukee stepping in, 5 for his last 25. He went 0 for 4 last night, hitting .274. We have one out here in the bottom of the first in Chicago. Now, Steve, you just gave us some great analysis on stats. When you played, how much information did you receive as a pitcher regarding stats? And here's what he's doing in the middle innings, or here's how you set him up in the first 3 or the second time around. Was it available for you?
Oh, yeah, we got a tremendous amount of information. They handed you the baseball, and they say, there's the mound, and go out and pitch. I mean, you had an idea about each and every guy you were facing, and the one thing that I think every pitcher wants to know, is he a first ball, fastball hitter? Will he bunt? And does he steal bases? Other than that, there's not much that you can tell a pitcher, except if he's a rookie. If he's a rookie, then you talk to him about a certain guy in a certain situation. You also want to know from your advanced scout how hot this guy is coming into this series. Because you might catch a guy who's 0 for 16, not swinging the bat well. You can pitch him a little differently than you can if he comes in 9 for 16, swinging the bat real well. And hitters go through the same type of streaks as pitchers will go through. Pitchers will go through a streak where he doesn't hang a breaking ball, where his control's perfect. On the other side of the coin, he also goes through the same slumps the hitters go through.
Eaton again takes off. Here's the throw to second high, and Adam Eaton is in, sliding with a stolen base.
I believe that gives him the team lead. And that's one of the reasons why Adam Eaton is so valuable at the top. Number one, he's been hitting the daylights out of him. Number two, that's stolen base number 18. He's been caught 8 times. He gets a great jump. There's really nothing Avila can do. And he now has the team lead in stolen bases.
White Sox 12th in the American League in stolen bases, 13th in stolen base percentage. 3-0 count to Melky with Adam Eaton at second. See, because I always heard when we were talking about scouting reports, Earl Weaver with those little 3x5 cards. You played under Weaver in Baltimore.
He had those matchups, what you did against a certain hitter, what hitters on his team did against certain pitchers.
3-1 pitch, leased into right field, and it's headed all the way to the wall. Adam Eaton's going to score. Cabrera takes off for second as he makes the turn and then puts on the brakes, and Cabrera with an RBI double scoring Adam Eaton.
That's the pick to click as we show you our Mazda replay. But that's Bob, Layla, and Larry's pick to click. And that, of course, is the K9 Sox Club in Scottsdale, Arizona.
With Trace Thompson batting .302. And he has played all over the outfield, and he is just a wonderful athlete. I mean, he has made some spectacular catches since being recalled. Now, Steve, he was about a .240 hitter in the minors, and now he's batting .300. How many at bats? Can you give me an idea before, as you judge a player, that maybe, just maybe, this guy's going to be a .280, .290 hitter in the big leagues, or?
You're not going to put a number on it for the simple reason that the advanced scouts haven't had that long to determine where the soft spots are. But what you can tell is a guy's swing. You can tell how quick the bat is. Can he get the bat around on inside pitches so he's not going to get jammed? Will he make some adjustments? And so far, everything that Trace has done has been pretty good. But we're not going to really know, and I don't think anybody can put a number exactly on where his ceiling is going to be, because he appears at the age of 24 to keep on getting better.
This is his 43rd big league ball game, 5 homers, 16 RBIs.
That last pitch is the one thing that if he conquers somewhere in spring training, he's going to be a much better hitter. And that is, you have to lay off the face-high fastball. Take a look at where this pitch is. It's a face-high fastball. You're not going to be able to do anything with it. You just can't go up there and get it. He's going to miss most of them or foul them straight back.
0-2 count with 1 out, 1 on here in the bottom of the first. Trace's brother Clay, he's in training camp with the Golden State Warriors. And I know that Trace really looking forward to seeing whether or not his brother's club can defend the NBA championship. Verlander getting a sign from Avila, and we're going to talk more about Avila during the course of the ball game. And he's in the probably swan song of his Tiger career over the weekend here in Chicago. He's catching tonight.
You never really know if it's a swan song, because a lot of times when you have a family member that's running the organization, things work out well for you. And his father, Al Avila, was the assistant general manager, promoted to the general manager when Dave Dombrowski was let go. Subsequently, Dombrowski went to Boston. And Alex is a good, solid player. Now, it's been a disappointing year for him. He's hitting under 200, but he's been hurt quite a bit. We saw last night their catcher of the future, James McCann, and he's a good one.
Mm-hmm. I spoke to Avila yesterday prior to the ball game, and I just love the way he's conducted himself. It's been a tough year in many areas with injuries and whatnot, and with McCann assuming the #1 role, but he's handled it very well. 3-2 pitch and a cold strike. So Thompson goes down. We have 2 outs here, and this could bring on Alexi Ramirez.
This pitch could have gone either way. It probably has a bottom part of the zone. And, you know, I talked to Todd Steverson in spring training about rookies in general. They said one of the things that you observe if you're a coach is when a rookie inevitably gets a call that's borderline or a bad call and he gets called out, you want to see how he reacts to that. And that was a very close pitch that went Verlander's way. And we'll see next time up. I'm pretty sure that Trace will come back, and that'll be completely out of his mind as he takes the next at bat.
Well, they always say in the NBA, Steve, and that's, you know, my night job calling Bulls ball, that superstars get calls. Now, do you think star pitchers get the benefit of the doubt from home plate umpires? In this case, of Verlander, for example.
I won't go as far as to say that the superstars get it. I'll tell you who gets the calls is pitchers who are around the plate a lot. The more you're around the plate, the more calls you're going to get. But I do believe that a lot of veteran pitchers will get more close calls against rookie hitters than against superstar hitters. I mean, that's just kind of the way things go. It's not predetermined by the umpires. It's not done really by design. It's just one of those things that happen in this game. You have to establish yourself and establish the fact that you know the strike zone.
1-1 pitch with 2 outs here to Ramirez. Well, this is my 17th game calling Sox baseball with you. By the way, I'm 8-8 for those of you keeping score at home.
So this is a big game.
This is a big game. That's right. Well, sitting in the booth is always a big game. But you know what? I have so much respect for the umpires, Steve. It is a tough job, really tough job, and I have a great deal of admiration for these men. 2 balls and a strike with 2 outs to Ramirez, batting .250 on the season.
That time you thought perhaps that was a self-defense swing by Ramirez. It looked like he wanted to hit the ball before it hit him, because this ball's a good 4 or 5 inches inside off the plate.
Earlier we had a blowing mist of rain. 47 degrees at game time.
Yeah, but it's deceiving because it's a damp 47.
And also that wind, my goodness, not only last night, but also this evening as well. Fouled back, count remains at 2-2. This Tiger Ball Club, as Steve mentioned, 73-86. They're 8 under 500 on the road. 19.5 back of the Royals, who won the Central, snapping Detroit's 4-year ride, winning the division. I mean, they've had a superb run.
They've been a good team, but they had massive injuries this year.
Fly ball off to the right field, out of play. You know what, Steve? They've had a couple of chances in 2006, along with 2012, losing to the Cardinals and Giants, respectively. They have not been able to go over the hump. The last time they actually won a World Series was back in '84 when they beat the Padres. The Tigers that year started 35-5.
Yes, well aware of that. And then played 500 ball the rest of the way, but they won by 20 games.
Yep. Sox with a 1-0 lead here. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Swing at the best spot, Ramirez, and that will end the first inning to play. Sox on the board. And we'll go to inning number 2 in a moment right here on WGN TV. Through the 31st at the Hilton Chicago, you'll score an autograph or photo with your favorite current players or coaches, as well as White Sox greats. You can play games, win prizes, shop for White Sox gear. It'll be a weekend of White Sox baseball that you won't want to miss. Tickets are on sale now. Visit whitesox.com/SoxFest. As Tyler Collins leads it off, second inning. Chuck Swirsky along with Steve Stone. Always a pleasure. Good to have you with us tonight, right here on WGN TV. Collins, you know, he's probably aiming for that 4th outfield spot for 2016. Detroit has a lot of work to do, Steve, though. Alex Avila, as you mentioned, you know, the general manager and whatnot, he has got some work to do with that pitching staff.
They've had bullpen problems for quite some time, and that's one of the things that they have to address. Certainly, it'll help them when Iglesias at shortstop comes back. But they've got some holes to fill, as all teams do. When you finish last or second last, you do have a lot of holes to fill. You just have to hope that the guys that you bring back off bad years have pretty decent years, pretty good bounce back years.
3-2 pitch coming up from Johnson. Did he go around? Nope. And Collins will take a base.
It's a night to break out your best costumes, because it is Halloween night at the ballpark. The prelude to Halloween. As close as we'll get to it, playing Major League Baseball will be tomorrow afternoon. And then that will be it for both of these teams.
Castellanos now with a man on for Detroit. Castellanos has improved defensively in the second half of the season. Went 0 for 4 last night, struck out twice, batting .257, but he does have 15 homers and 72 RBIs. He's been a durable player, played close to 150 games a year ago for Detroit. Fly ball to left, running in to make that routine catch. Nice job by Thompson. Got a good read on the ball there, and that's going to bring on Moya.
There's no doubt that the wind is going to knock the ball down to left field. It's also going to keep the ball in play down the left field line. So in this case, Olt and Thompson on balls that appear to be in the seats, they're going to blow back toward the field of play. On the other side of the equation, to right field, it's going to carry the ball toward the line and take pop-ups and make them foul balls, usually in the seats.
Moya spent most of the season in Toledo of the International League. This is only his 8th game and his 19th Major League ball game, but his 7th year in the Tiger organization.
Well, he's got some pretty big power. That's one of the reasons why they haven't given up on him yet. A left-hand hitter with big power, you hope he comes into his own.
Goes about 6'6". Tigers have lost 5 of 6. They just cannot put, as the White Sox have struggled putting runs on the plate. And as Steve Stone mentioned, they've got to solve issues with their starters, but also get a closer. But Steve, as you know, I mean, you just can't go out and say we're going to trade for a closer. If you do, you have to pay a lot to get him.
But Detroit has spent a great deal of money on this team, only to get close, but not win the big prize.
And before Dave Dombrowski was released from his duties and then subsequently went to Boston, he made some big deals. Dave Price goes to Toronto. Boyd came over. Norris came over. You're going to see Norris tomorrow. Daniel Norris.
Cespedes went to the Mets.
For Mike Fulmer.
I mean, that was... Fulmer has got good stuff. There were some that thought he had good stuff as anybody in that organization, and we'll see, because there's no doubt Detroit could certainly use a pitcher with great stuff. You're going to see Norris, who's got very good stuff, by the way, tomorrow afternoon. That was one of the deals, a consequential deal. But that was a deal that really helped the Mets, because Cespedes, as soon as he got there, and then they got David Wright back, that really put a charge into them. They ran away with that division. Now they're struggling, however, to try to maintain home field advantage through the playoffs. Losing the ball game today, and the Dodgers with one more win coming in, now with one less loss, the Dodgers could take the best record away from them.
Well, you mentioned the incredible ball game today, folks, with Rangers and Angels. Angels led 5-1, then trailed 10-6, and then scored 5 runs and hung on for a victory. So tonight, the Diamondbacks are playing the Astros, and both the Rangers and Angels are actually pulling for Arizona to win that ball game.
Yeah, you can't blame them there.
That's a base hit up the middle. So the Tigers are in business here with 1 out after Moya with a single to center. Runners at first and second now with 1 out, and that's going to bring on Dixon Machado. And they're very high on Machado. And Steve, let me tell you what, they're so high on him. It's going to be interesting to see what develops in the offseason at shortstop, how they view Iglesias and Machado. And because I think Machado has a chance to be an everyday player.
Well, if he does, it probably for Detroit is not going to be at shortstop, only because Iglesias hit 300 this year, and he's a terrific fielder. So he did play 120 games before getting hurt and out for the year. You might remember they got Iglesias in a 3-way deal that brought Avisail Garcia here to the Sox. Jake Peavy at the time going to Boston.
Well, the Tigers really like the job that Machado has done in so many ways, not only fielding his position. He's got a strong arm, got the range. Iglesias did make the All-Star team, but he hit only 194 with runners in scoring position. But a lot of things to sort out in the offseason for both teams with a 2-1 count on Dixon Machado. With 1 out here in the second inning, 1-0 White Sox. So, Steve, we examined both ball clubs, and Rick Hahn held court with reporters yesterday, and was very, very transparent. I was totally impressed with what he had to say, saying, listen, we have some work to do, and we've got to get down to it in the offseason, not only offensively, but also, base running he was talking about defense as well. This could be 2, 6, 4, 3. Ring it up. We'll return in a moment from Chicago here with the White Sox nursing a 1-0 lead.
GN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Robert Morris University, Illinois, offering over 55 athletic teams. That's more than any other university in the state. For more information on RMU, visit robertmorris.edu.
And we go to the bottom of the second here in Chicago. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the Hawk, and the Hawk will be back for the season finale tomorrow afternoon. Joined alongside Cy Young Award winner in Steve Stone. Rob Brantley catching tonight. Tyler Flowers going to have some work done on that knee in the offseason, Stephen.
I think that's going to help his mobility, certainly, and he's going to have that done. He figures it's not a major reconstruction by any means, but he's got to address it because he's had some pain. And for catchers, especially big catchers, it's tough to keep those knees entirely healthy.
It certainly does take a toll.
Tough position.
For Brantley, his 13th game. He has a homer, 6 RBIs, batting .154. A little chopper to second. Kinsler with an easy play. And the White Sox have one out here in the second. That's going to bring on Garcia. So I want to get your take on Avi about his ceiling. Steve, you've seen him now for a couple of years. What's the book on Garcia according to Steve Stone?
Well, I'm not sure we know exactly where the ceiling is. He's got some things he has to work on. All the tools are there. He's got the size, the strength, the arm strength, the physical ability to get there. The question is, can he do some things that are going to help him? And one, a lot like Trace Thompson, although he's much more advanced than Trace Thompson, is he's got to lay off a face-high fastball. He also swings at a lot of pitches inside off the plate, and that makes it pretty tough for him. But bear in mind, Chuck, this is his first full season.
Yes, it is.
I mean, last year was interrupted by injury. He played on a part-time basis with the Tigers, still a very young hitter, and a world of talent, and now you have to see if he's going to take the next step.
Garcia's 1 for his last 14. 146 games, 13 homers, 59 RBIs, batting .254. One count with one out. Verlander on the mound for Detroit. White Sox last in runs scored in the American League, last in home runs, total bases, and RBIs, and slugging percentage of OPS as well. So both teams looking for major needs in the offseason. Chopped out in front, and Verlander can make a clean play.
Well, Verlander had all kinds of time, and this is a real bad play by a guy who has been around long enough to know better than this. For some reason, he wants to swipe at it. Now, if he gets turned around in the batter's box, all Verlander has to do is catch it. He knocks it into foul territory. And then after he misses it, he kicks it. So it goes E1.
So with one out, one on for the White Sox, Mike Holt. 3 for his last 15, getting the assignment tonight at third base. Verlander is due $112 million over the next 4 years. He's got a 2020 option guaranteed for $22 million, but he has to have a top 5 finish in the Cy Young voting. Miggy Cabrera, by the way, next year will start a 10-year, $300 million contract.
Well, so far, if there's been one guy on this team that has earned every cent they paid him, it's Miguel Cabrera.
Yes.
He can hardly do much better than he's done. And if he wins the 4th batting title in 5 years, and you would certainly expect he would, then it's going to join another select crew. Now, it's not quite as select as Jose Abreu, with the first 2 years hitting 30-plus home runs, 100-plus runs batted in, because that only has 2 members, Albert Pujols and Jose. But still, a wonderful accomplishment for Cabrera. So that ball gets away, and a fastball riding up and in to Mike Holt gets away from Avila. So on the play, Garcia moves into second base. Avila wants it inside. Verlander just gets it too far inside. Fortunately, Mike is able to get down and out of the way.
Very fortunate. A ball, 2 strikes and an out here. 1-0 White Sox. We're in the bottom of the second. And it's a called 3rd strike. Holt disagreeing with the call from home plate umpire Adrian Johnson.
We'll take another look. That's a breaking ball that probably has a piece of the outside corner. I mean, it's a perfect pitcher's pitch.
Carlos Sanchez, 5 homers, 31 RBIs at .227.
Of course, after you see one of those fastballs up in, I mean, way up and in, that outside corner looks a whole lot further away.
I'm still amazed, Steve, just as a fan and now sitting up here with you, how players have such, a keen awareness and athleticism. I mean, you're dealing with 95, 97 coming in so quickly. How the reaction time is a split second. It's amazing how players can just dart out of the way and duck aside.
Well, that's really a good part of your job. Hit the ball and avoid getting hit by it. Because if you can't do that, well, then you're out selling something for a living. But it's not playing this game.
Sanchez 3 for his last 18. Routine ground ball on a hop. Kinsler over to Cabrera. And that will retire the side. 1-0 White Sox after 2 from Chicago on WGN TV.
in marketing, and he's got some interesting things to tell us tonight, and they all involve things that are going to improve this ballpark and the whole experience.
Absolutely. We're very, very excited to talk to our fans and be able to show our fans our new video boards that we're going to have next year right here at U.S. Cellular Field.
So we're in the top of the third. We got Avila leading off, and he's had a tough year at the office for Avila. 67 games, batting 194.
And Brooks, we saw the renderings of the new scoreboard. It's absolutely gorgeous, and there's actually going to be 3 of them.
Yeah, we're, like you said, we're very excited to be able to bring our fans the best in technology, and to be able to have a center field video board that is competitive with the other ballparks in the league, and then to be able to take our right field and our left field boards and to be able to bring more of the game to our fans and our fan experience is going to be something our fans are really going to enjoy.
Well, this new board in center field is going to be 4 or 5 times bigger than the current one, which is one of the smallest in the major leagues. And I think in enhancing everything, it can't help but enhance the total experience of coming to the ballpark and seeing everything a little more clearly and a little bigger than they've seen it in the past.
No question about it. And be able to share more information is what's important. If you look, and then maybe we'll be able to pull up the shot of the board with Chris Sale on there, the design may remind you of something. And it may remind you of old Comiskey Park. And to be able to have a board that brings in the modern technology along with maybe a little taste of our past is something that I think people are going to enjoy. And you'll see there the pinwheels are actually all digital as well. So it gives us massive flexibility to bring to our fans all sorts of different things, whether it's if maybe it's fantasy sports or what's going on and out of town. If you look at our out of town board right now, it just tells you who the winning pitcher is, the losing pitcher, or maybe who's pitching, who's batting. As we know in baseball, it's always so fun to watch what's going on inside the game and look at those fantasy stats. So we'll be able to do a lot of those things while being able to present the game in completely different and more flexible ways.
Well, I think one of the keys, obviously, besides the fact that it's going to be substantially bigger, and you hit on it, is up-to-date technology, because the world of baseball is just changing. It's changing on a minute-by-minute basis as far as new technology is concerned, and we see it every place else. It'll be nice to be able to see it here.
Oh, no question about it. We as you guys know, and Chuck, certainly you know in the NBA, how quick games are moving in whether it's hockey or basketball. They're moving at a much quicker pace, and the cadence of baseball is a little bit slower. So as you look around, you're going to see everybody. I'm sure we could get camera shots of people looking at their phones right now.
Yes.
And to be able to go phone to screen or to be able to engage or interact while you're at the ballpark, it speeds up that experience, even if the game time stays the same. So we'll be able to do that.
Well, as you can see, there's a gentleman who's very interested, certainly, in what's going on, I'm sure, around baseball. And it's wonderful to see the things going on the field. It's something else to the fans of baseball, the fans of the American League, to know what's going on around the league on a moment-by-moment basis, and that's one of the things we'll be able to see. So, Brooks, thank you very much for being here. We certainly appreciate it, and hopefully next year a better product for you to sell.
We're looking forward to it. Thanks for all the Sox fans who have supported us all year long, and we look forward to seeing you at the ballpark tomorrow and all season next year.
for exclusive White Sox content all year long. Get news and video updates, ticket offers, breaking alerts, and more. Visit whitesox.com/blacklist to register. Alongside Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone, Chuck Swirsky with you. Eric Johnson did his job. Quick 1-2-3 inning against Detroit. And we move to the bottom of the third with the White Sox in front 1-0 with Adam Eaton, who led off the ball game with a base hit. Later scored on Melky Cabrera's run-scoring double. Against Verlander, each team with a couple of base hits. Verlander committed an error for Detroit.
That was run scored number 98 for Adam Eaton, and really shows you just how important a leadoff hitter getting on base is. The first half of the year was very tough for Adam, but seemingly from the All-Star break, he turned it on. When he gets on base, this team can really click on all cylinders. Unfortunately, the first part of the year, everybody was slumping, including Adam, and this team wasn't scoring very much. But he's just been amazing. He's hit the ball very well. He's bunted a few times, just enough so that the third baseman has to come in to respect his bunting ability. But more times than not, when he gets on, especially to lead off the ball game, he has a tendency to come around and score.
Yes, career high 14 homers. And I spoke to him yesterday about the home run binge. And we're going to pick up that storyline in a moment on a 2-1 pitch coming up from Verlander. And he goes the other way for a base hit. And so, Steve, I said, tell me about your home runs this year. And he goes, Chuck, sometimes it's a case where maybe a pitcher makes a mistake. Maybe it's the pitch count. Maybe I'm in a groove. And I said, so are we to assume that next year we're going to be in that 13, 18 range? And he goes, not necessarily. He goes, obviously I want to hit for power. But he goes, my job is to set the table. I want to get on base. And he has become, in my opinion, Steve, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he's become a core player in this group as we move forward.
Well, he's one of the few guys, and there's not many anymore. There's a lot of guys that hit number one. There's not a lot of true leadoff hitters. He's one of those guys. His on-base percentage is up over 360. And if he'd been able to put two halves together, it would have been a remarkable year for him. Just the fact that he's knocking at the door, scoring 100 runs, shows you just how valuable he is. So he got on. He stole a base in the first inning and came home on a double by Melky. And he's on again to start this inning. So had he been doing what you would expect Adam to do, because he hit 300 last year, and he'd been doing that, you would have to figure that Abreu would probably have driven in 125 runs this year.
I agree. Good point.
And I do believe that Adam can be one of the keys to this offense.
Speaking of Abreu, 0-1 pitch to Jose. Fly to little pop short in the first. But Adam Eaton, he loves to play, and we were talking about, when he's a DH, he said it's really, really difficult. He has to go back. He said he must take 100 swings when he's a DH underneath near the locker room. The ball fumbled from behind, then Eaton's going to take off for second, and he is out.
He thought this one was going to get further away than it did. Beal on a high fastball is able to get to the ball quickly and then make a great throw to second base. Adam is cut down easily. Kinsler applying the tag.
He fired it to the first base side of the second base bag, and as you mentioned, an easy play. Abreu pulls it foul down to the left with a one out. 1 ball, 2 strikes for Jose Abreu.
Well, there was a very good catcher, a man who now is managing in the major leagues by the name of Mike Scioscia, who does such a great job with the Angels. He told me quite simply, for catchers, there are no outs on the third base side of second. So if you're going to throw it to one side or the other, you'll find the outs on the first base side of second. Everybody would like to throw it right on the bag, but realistically, you don't see that all the time.
Speaking of catchers, managers, can we talk a little about Brad Ausmus for a moment, Steve?
Sure, of course.
I'm glad
Chuck,
he's getting.
You're the captain of this
no,
ship.
no,
You can
no.
talk about anything you want.
I'm glad he's coming back, because he really was dealt a very tough hand with this pitching staff. And again, they lost Cabrera for 6 weeks. And I understand injuries are a part of the game, but they've been trying to find a bullpen for a couple of years. 1-2 pitch coming up for Abreu from Verlander. And the ball gets past Avila and Cabrera with a step on the back. And I'm glad Ausmus is going to have another opportunity. And so a couple of weeks ago when his job was on the line, no one knew. There was a TV report in Detroit he wasn't going to return. Then he found out this past week that he would be back. But someone said, you know, how do you feel about that? And he goes, well, my family's really not really exposed to what's going on. They're back in San Diego. And he goes, really, I've got 2 teenage daughters. You think they care about this? And he put it in perspective.
Well, he played so many years. I mean, he was a quality major league catcher for a long time. But here's the deal with Brad Ausmus is it is with any manager. He was given 2 years to manage. That's heading into next year. Last year he won the division. This year things fell apart. So if you like the job, if you like the fact that they won the division last year, you have to realize that he didn't get stupid over the wintertime. It's just a circumstantial case where people got hurt that you don't want to see get hurt. Other people underachieved, and he's going to be given 1 more year. And then Al Avila will make the determination on just exactly if he's good enough to go forward or should they replace him with somebody. But I agree with you. I'm happy he's getting another chance to show what he can do with this team.
Laced foul down to the left. So give me 2 points. How do you then judge a manager, Steve?
Number one, you want to make sure that your team is ready to play each and every day. That's pretty important. And good managers will have their team ready to play each and every day. Also, you're going to take a look at moves, and it's not whether you bunt now or whether you use the hit and run then or whatever it is you do. You have to keep your bullpen healthy. The better managers are the guys that keep a bullpen healthy, especially if you're going to be in the race from the middle of August on through the end of September. Because many good managers will tell you that it's not always the best pitching staff that wins, it's the healthiest pitching staff that wins. And lesser managers don't do a real good job of keeping their bullpen healthy.
Cabrera swings and misses. That's going to end the bottom of the third. It's a 1-0 Sox lead. Good stuff from Steve Stone. Stick around. We're going to go to Twitter next inning, and we'll tell you about that in a moment right here from Chicago on WGN TV. Hitters he's seen over his career in baseball.
Miggy's the best right-handed hitter I think I've ever seen. Of just being able to, you know, the types of pitchers that we have now on a daily basis and what he does. He's so impressive. He's smart. Drives in runs, gets on base. He even started as a third baseman and can move around. So he does a lot of things well, but he just seems to be on time for everything, whether it's hard or soft, and puts the barrel on as well as anybody.
And Robin, who was a very good hitter himself, should certainly know what a good hitter looks like. And it's not only that he has the great skills. We talk about that all the time. There's a lot of people that have good skills in this game. But Miggy combines it with being one of the smartest hitters around, and that combination makes it very difficult to pitch to him in a key situation. And the key for the Tigers is to have somebody behind Cabrera who can really drive in some runs and make some pitchers want to pitch to Cabrera, because otherwise they have very few of anybody behind him that really is a force. Miggy's not going to see a whole lot of pitches.
Well, he's going to win his 4th batting title in 5 years, and we've got a graphic to really illuminate what this man, what company he's going to join, and it really is phenomenal. Nice snag. What a play by Sanchez. So let's have a rundown now as far as the company that Miggy's going to join.
4 batting titles in 5 years. Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, Rod Carew, Stan Musial, Rogers Hornsby, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, and Nap Lajoie. And it's pretty amazing when you look at that list. You put Miggy right there with him. You know, and I've heard it suggested, kind of interesting, that listening to a broadcast, they said they ought to waive the 5-year rule for Miggy. Whenever he retires, they should just go right from the retirement ceremony right to the Hall of Fame. He's been that good.
There's a base hit down the left field line. J.D. Martinez on his way to second with a stand-up double. Nice piece of hitting by Martinez. And the Tigers with a man on second with 1 out here in the top of the 4th. And for Detroit, that's their 3rd hit.
33 doubles, a pretty impressive year when you factor in 38 home runs, 101 driven in. He's been anywhere from 280 to 300 most of this year as far as batting average is concerned. But you look for your run producers to produce runs. Batting average is good, but you want to see big production in the RBI column.
And for Eric Johnson, that's his 58th pitch. We're in the 4th inning of play, and a 1-0 Sox lead on a Cabrera. Melky Cabrera's 77th RBI, run scoring, double scoring Eaton in the 1st. You just raised an interesting question, or a comment in this case, regarding Hall of Fame. And I've been a very big advocate that superstar players, they should have this 5-year wait. I mean, really, what's the point of waiting 5 years for a guy like Cabrera, or in the NBA for a Kobe Bryant or an Allen Iverson who's going to go? I mean, come on.
I can understand the original thought process is let the guys who are from years past get a chance to get in before the superstars of the present get in. That ball popped way up.
Well,
Tough play.
And Mother Nature is doing her thing, and Abreu makes the catch just to the right of home plate near the fungo circle.
Well, if you also take a look at where Collins threw his bat, Jose caught a break, because as he was drifting around with a wind-blown pop-up and a difficult play to make, Collins throws his bat right in the path of Abreu. Now, he does touch it, but he catches a break. You could roll over that, seriously hurt an ankle, and fortunately it didn't happen. But that gives you some sort of an idea about the effect of the wind on anything up in the air. And one of the things that Jose does unbelievably well is catch pop-ups anywhere around the right side of the diamond.
We have 2 outs now for Nick Castellanos, flied out to left in the 2nd. So go back to your point regarding the Hall of Fame and balloting and voting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why they put the 5-year, is that players from before have a chance to get in before the slam dunk players that people see playing today, before they get their chance. But the idea of waiting, I think maybe it served a better purpose in years past. They might make it a little shorter, maybe not. I mean, he's getting in anyway, so.
Fly ball to right center field, backing up a couple of steps, and that's out of Eaton, and that's going to retire the side here in the 4th inning. 1-0 White Sox. We go to the bottom of the frame in a moment right here on WGN TV. doing the things you love. Visit Athletico.com and start defining your pain-free inner athlete today. Athletico, the official physical therapy provider of the Chicago White Sox. Athletico, better for everybody. And that's exactly what my broadcast partner Steve Stone does. He defines his pain-free inner body.
Well, pain-free might be stretching it a touch. Being a former athlete-type person, especially when it's a little damp, a little chilly.
With Trace Thompson stepping in here in the bottom of the fourth. So, Steve, you retired because of an injury.
I retired because of an elbow injury that didn't seem to heal. I never had surgery on it, but it was heading that way. And I just decided, Chuck, that as you look at it, one hopper to third, easy play to first, but I decided that it wasn't quantity of career that was the way to go. It was quality of career, and I didn't believe that I could continue the same type of quality career that I was enjoying before the injury. And so you get to the point where you say, okay, I'm in my 14th year. It's time to look for something else. And that's exactly what happened. So I enjoyed every minute of it. But coming to the ballpark is the best thing I could imagine. And if you can't come to the ballpark as a player any longer, obviously because of injury or age or a number of other things, coming here as a broadcaster is probably the next best thing.
No doubt about that with Ramirez, who struck out in the first against Verlander. We're going to go to your tweets as you can find Steve Stone on Twitter at Steve Stone. We love interacting with our fans. Catching White Sox baseball tonight on WGN TV. My Twitter address, Swirsk054. That's SWIRSK 054. Off-speed pitch from Verlander. He wanted it, didn't get it.
That was a pretty good pitch, and certainly any pitcher would want that. It had a good portion of the zone. But Adrian Johnson said nope.
1-1 count. Well, it is Halloween night, right?
Yes, that's a very handsome shot.
Jim Angio, John Walgren in our production truck. We have outstanding men and women night after night after night. And a one hopper. Machado with a long throw to first. That retires Ramirez. So we've got some tweets, Steve. You want to go to Twitter? I mean, it's always kind of neat to find out what the fans are thinking here.
Go get them.
Okay, so let's go to Twitter. We have a question, Steve, about schedules.
Yes.
And, you know, in the case of Central Division, they play 18 games, 19.
Yep.
And
it's called the unbalanced schedule.
Yes, do
when
you
you
like
play
it?
teams in your division more. Well, the only thing I see, Chuck, is that it makes it difficult and not particularly fair for the wild card race. The reason being is that, let's take a team from the Central. Let's take a year when the Central is the best division in baseball. This probably is not the year for that, but let's just take a year. You're trying to make it to the wild card, and there's two of them. You're trying to make it to the wild card, but you have a tougher time because the team in your division is much tougher. And we'll get back to more of this as we head to the next inning. But after 4, Sox hold a 1-0 lead.
to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. By Honda. Start something special with a great deal on Honda. Now at your Honda dealer. By Subway. Make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. By Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers, who invite you to test drive our award-winning lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com.
So to elaborate a little bit on why things aren't unfair, why things are unfair is Moya pops that one up. So this should be adventuresome. But Mike Holt makes the play. For instance, let's take the National League East this year. Miami, Atlanta, and Philadelphia are very bad baseball teams. So if you're trying to get to the wild card and you play those teams 58 times, that's a bigger advantage than if you're playing against the NL Central, where St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and the Cubs have three of the best records in all of baseball. And you have to play those teams 58 times. So it just seems to me that if you're going to have the two wild cards, which obviously we are, and I think it's great for baseball, that you should go back to a balanced schedule where everybody plays everybody about the same amount of times.
Near the line for Garcia, he makes the grab. We're in the fifth inning here with the White Sox holding a 1-0 lead, 1-3-0 for the White Sox. No runs, 3 hits, and an error for Detroit. See, here's a question from Rob Lombardi on Twitter. Wants to know how the game has changed since you won the Cy Young Award. What's the big difference?
Well, the big difference is there's more specialists. Now we have a 7th inning guy for most teams. Back in 1980, when I did win it, more times than not, there was one closer, and then you had some other guys that you would mix and match. And now we have a distinct 7th inning guy. Usually 2 of them are right and left-hander. You have a distinct setup man, and obviously you have your closer. Also, just guys complete games, pretty much a thing of the past.
A little pop-up. Brantley is under it in foul territory. And a quick 1-2-3 inning. More tweets coming your way. At Steve Stone, at Swersk 054. Eric Johnson getting the job done. Pitching shutout baseball here in Chicago on WGN TV.
Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To visit the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Alongside Steve Stone, this is Chuck Swirsky, a pleasure. Eric Johnson, very impressive. allowing the Tigers with only 3 hits. Verlander has allowed the White Sox to only 3 hits, but the Sox pushed across a run in the first, and they lead 1-0. Back to your tweets in a moment. At Steve Stone and at Swersk, SWIRSK054. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Here in Chicago, the season finale tomorrow. The Hawk will be back in the booth along with Steve. See what Garcia can do here against Verlander. Fly ball to right, chasing it down. That's going to fall in for a base hit. And Garcia's on with a base hit here in the bottom of the 5th. Yeah, Steve, I'm not sure if Moya got a good jump on that ball.
Well, the wind was knocking it down and pushing it toward the line. We said that was what was going to happen on the right side. So not an easy one to read as this ball is slicing away. And Moya was playing fairly deep in right field, respecting the power of Garcia, especially the power opposite way.
So the leadoff man aboard for Mike Olt. Steve, today Minnesota was eliminated from the playoffs with a loss, and very tough to swallow. I saw it interviewed this morning prior to the ball game with Paul Molitor, who Minnesota lost a tough game last night. But I'll tell you what, I was impressed with what the Twins gave their fans in 2015.
I think it was very surprising. They're one of the most surprising teams in all of baseball. The fact that Minnesota was there till the second last day of the season. Paul Molitor did a terrific job. This was his first year as a manager. So I think everybody is pretty happy with the way things worked out. They've got a couple of very good young players. Miguel Sano is one of those guys that is going to hit the ball out of the ballpark for a long time. If Byron Buxton ever stays healthy, he's going to be a huge force in center field. Then, of course, they got Rosario, a left-hand hitter who looks like he's going to be a good one. And there you see Minnesota is going to finish over 500, which I believe is a tremendous accomplishment, especially when most everybody picked them for last or second last in the division. But they carried it a long way before finally being eliminated.
Old with a healthy swing and a miss. I want to talk about the Central for a moment. We've already profiled what's going on with the Tigers and whatnot. I'll tell you what's an intriguing club. Cleveland's pitching is outstanding. And if they can add some offense in 2016, Steve, they could be a force. Now, that's a big if, obviously. A lot of teams have needs, like the White Sox and Detroit.
Well, a lot of people picked the Indians this year to win the Central because of that pitching staff. But the one thing the Indians have not been able to do, and that is draw a whole lot of people. So if you don't draw a whole lot of people, you're not going to have that excess money to spend on payroll. And it's going to be pretty difficult then to stock up on some meaningful run producers. Look, Brantley has come alive. He's one of the best players in the game. Kipnis has had a rebound year for them. And you look around, Francisco Lindor, one of the most exciting young players in all of baseball, switch hitting shortstop who's going to hit for some power, but be just a force defensively and offensively.
Love him. What is he, Steve, about 21?
He is 21. So you have the nucleus of a pretty good team, but to that, if you're the Indians, you have to add some power. And it's pretty difficult to get. They don't have a whole lot of trading pieces to do it, and they're not going to take on a whole lot of money. That being said, it's got to come from the organization, and they don't have, at this point, they don't have that 2 or 3 guys that can come up and make a difference offensively.
So Old with a 3-2 count with nobody out here in the bottom of the 5th inning with Garcia on after dropping a single to right.
One of the things that I think that everybody should think about, because when the second wild card was floated as an alternative to the one wild card system, there's a lot of people who said, boy, that's going to really water down the playoffs. Well, think about all those folks on the north side of Chicago.
The ground ball and the toss to first, but advancing is Garcia. He's on second with a man out.
Those people on the north side of Chicago, most likely this year, unless Pittsburgh loses the last 2 games of the season, the Cubs would not make the postseason with a wonderful baseball team, because they're going to have the third best record in their own division, and they're going to suffer something that I did with a ball club that won 100 games in 1980. That was, we won 100 games. We were 38 over 500, and we went home. Yankees won 103, and that was the season for us. There was no wild card at all. So the second wild card puts more teams in play for postseason and creates more fan frenzy to get there. I think it's a wonderful idea for baseball, and I think this year we're seeing some classic illustrations of how many more teams have been in the race a long period of time that would have otherwise been eliminated.
Carlos Sanchez, who's 0 for 1. He's got Garcia on at second with one out here in the bottom of the fifth. That almost hit him. You know, Steve, last year with Kansas City going to the World Series, of course, lost a thrilling fall classic to San Francisco. I think a lot of people felt that was a fluke. That was, you know, the flavor of the season. Kansas City, nice little story. They pick up Morales. They were questioned about that as an offseason signing, but they have come back. Obviously, they won the Central first time they won a division since 1985. I admire what Kansas City's done. I like the character of that ball club.
If you take a look at the team and you realize how it was put together, Dayton Moore did a terrific job. He is their general manager, and he built through the system. He had a lot of first-round draft picks, and he didn't miss on many of them. So you look at Moustakas, Hosmer, Gordon, all first-round draft picks, all very high draft picks, but each and every one an excellent player. And so, you know, if you get the draft picks, it's one thing to get them. It's another thing to be able to turn them into not only good, but excellent everyday Major League players. Kansas City's been able to do that. He had a pitcher or two. Ventura came up through their system. He's probably their number one right now. He beat Minnesota today. He's probably going to start the playoffs for them. 13-8 this year.
3-1 pitch. And of course, they acquired Cueto from Cincinnati. Lamb looks like he's going to be a promising left-handed pitcher in that trade going to the Cincinnati ball club. But, you know, Steve, and I know TV revenue and whatnot, I'm wondering if Kansas City can keep all those players down the road. It'll be interesting.
What you like to do is get to them well before they become a free agent, see if you can tie them up at a reasonable amount of money. If you can do that, then yes, you can keep them around for a while. Or if they are represented by Scott Boras, most likely they're going to play out the string and test free agency.
Most players under Boras do that.
Yes, they do. Doesn't make it wrong or right. It just makes it, that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Sanchez against Verlander with Garcia on at second base for the Sox. Sanchez swings and misses, can't advance the runner nor drive him home, and we've got 2 outs now. Hey fans, the First Merit Bank Stadium Club offers breathtaking views of U.S. Cellular Field and delicious food and beverage options for you to enjoy at White Sox games. For more information, call 312-674-1000. Baseball this afternoon. How about the not only the Angels in a crazy ball game beating the Rangers 11-10. The Yankees have not sealed the deal for a home field advantage in the wild card. They lost to Baltimore in the first of 2, 9-2. Machado hit his 34th for the Orioles.
And they're tied in the nightcap. That game in the top of the 6th inning, the game is tied at 3. And so another loss by the Yankees to Baltimore would make things a whole lot more interesting as far as the wild card and where it's going to be played. That one and done game that's so precarious.
With Adam Eaton, he's 2 for 2. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of the wild card. I think it's great. I think there's so much riding. You know, we're looking at Wednesday with the Cubs and the Buccos. That game will probably be played in Pittsburgh in all likelihood, Steve, and so much riding is on that game.
Well, Pittsburgh is losing to Cincinnati 2-1. That game in the bottom of the 5th in Pittsburgh. The Cubs, after 5 in Milwaukee, leading 1-0. Milwaukee being no hit. Max Scherzer, who's no stranger to throwing a no-hitter, has got one for the Washington Nationals.
Yep, through 6 against the Mets.
And that's what it looks like. The division leaders, well, they're pretty much the division champions, although Texas hasn't clinched. They will with one more. And then the wild card, Houston. Houston needs a win tonight. They're leading 1-0 against Arizona. That game in the top of the second in Arizona.
A ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Inside pitch to Eaton, 2-2. Well, I love the playoffs, especially this time of year. And with the page being turned, some new ball clubs on the horizon for both leagues. I think we're on the verge, Steve, of entering an era in baseball with so many gifted young players that are just starting their big league careers that are headed for just so much success. Eaton dances out of the way, another inside pitch.
It's been a long time since we've seen the quality young players who make an impactful difference offensively come into the league seemingly at the same time. But Carlos Correa at shortstop for Houston has been magnificent. Lindor for the Indians has been unbelievably good. Addison Russell for the Cubs has taken over at shortstop on an everyday basis, and he's been terrific. Shortstop has become a glamour position in all of baseball. There's some great ones out there.
Correa of the Astros hit his 22nd last night. Remember, they brought him up. He didn't start the season with the Houston Ball Club. No other rookie shortstop his age, and again he's 21, has even had more than 6 homers in a season at that age group. He reminds me so much of A-Rod in terms of not only physical build but also the power. Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, bottom of the 5th. Sox with a runner on at second. Eaton swings and misses, and he strikes out. We go to the 6th here in Chicago. More tweets for Steve Stone. We love him, folks, right here on WGN TV. Overlooking left field at U.S. Cellular Field, accessible from the 100, 300, and 500 levels. You can learn baseball fundamentals from the Chicago White Sox Training Academy coaches in batting and pitching cages, base running areas, and more. It's all from Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Mike Huff, the former White Sox outfielder, does a great job at the Sox Academy. Larry Stewart on the basketball side, and they've got a lot of great counselors and advisors, and do a fabulous job. We recommend your young men and women to check it out. We're checking out the 6th inning here. Ghost steps in. Tell me about Erik Johnson, what you've seen tonight, Steve.
I've seen a guy who's shutting out the Tigers. I mean, he's a pretty good pitcher. He's shown that it wasn't a fluke what he did in AAA this year. He was a pitcher of the year in the International League. There you look at the numbers so far. 3 hits, no runs on a walk and 3 strikeouts. But he's gotten the ball over the plate. This would not be a particularly good man to walk, but walk him he did. And now you've got a speedster at first base in a 1-run game.
He's been caught stealing, however, 11 times in 34 attempts. And sometimes it just doesn't equate just because you got speed that you're going to be a great base runner.
No, it's technique, and it comes down to picking out a key, especially on a right-hand pitcher. You key either, some guys key off the back leg, some guys key off the front shoulder. And a good base runner, I mean a really good base runner who hasn't seen a good pitcher's move yet, he's going to get what's termed a one-way lead. He's going to get out farther than he normally would with the idea he's only going to go back to the bag because he wants to see the best move the pitcher has. And Ghost has not seen it yet from Erik Johnson.
Let's see if Brett Ausmus gives Ghost the green light against Erik Johnson.
Dave Clark, the third base coach, is going through his set of signs.
Remember him as a ball player with the Cubs.
Dave Clark was a pretty good pinch hitter.
Yes, he was.
Good left-hand hitter. Good pinch hitter.
1-1 count. Dean Kinsler 0 for 2. Goes on to first base. He ran track in high school and he planned to attend Arizona, but then Philadelphia picked him with a 51st pick, and he signed for over $770,000. And he said, you know what? I kind of like Arizona, like Tucson, like the Wildcats, but $770,000. I'm going to big leagues. Here's Kinsler. Adam Eaton, a couple of steps in, makes the grab. That's what they do with you with Kent State. You want to stay for another year? You know, the Giants are paying me $776.
Yeah, no, it wasn't quite that. In fact, it was considerably less. 75 cents, as I believe. Actually, I begged the Giants to sign.
For Miggy Cabrera, 1 for 2.
And a big advantage, though, because a lot of scouts scouted Kent State because of my roommate on the road and my catcher, Thurman Munson.
Yeah.
Who became the #1 pick of the Yankees, and then obviously a big star in the major leagues.
So, Steve, now in this day and age with social networking and Twitter, and we're going to go back to your tweets in a moment, Facebook and whatnot, and cell phones, we didn't have that when you were selected by the Giants out of Kent State. Here's the pitch to Cabrera. Deep fly ball, center field. Adam Eaton at the track, and he can't make the play. It goes over the fence, and that's going to be a home run for Miggy Cabrera. So Cabrera, and that gives the Tigers an opportunity now as Cabrera giving a little fist bump.
18th home run of the year. It's been an injury-plagued year, and he was able to get this ball up, take it out to right center. Adam goes up as high as he can, and the ball looked like it hit off the top of the wall and bounced over into the seats. Cabrera now 18 and 76 on the power numbers. That ball well hit, but caught back on the track by Trace Thompson.
So just to finish my thought after Cabrera with a 2-run jack here. So how did you find out you were drafted then?
Well, the first time I was drafted by the Cleveland Indians, being a hometown product. I was watching television at Kent State, and I found out as their sportscaster announced that a local product was drafted. So the Indians were kind enough not to call me, but I found out on television that I was drafted by the Indians. Then the Giants did call me. They had a winter draft in those days. They had 2 drafts, June and January. And in the January draft, after I didn't sign with the Indians, the Giants did draft me. They called me and got the opportunity. The opportunity of a lifetime, actually, to get to play professional baseball. And then after you have that opportunity, then quite obviously it's up to you and what you make of it. But it was thrilling.
2 balls and a strike. Cabrera with a 2-run homer, propelling the Tigers to a 2-1 lead. That ball was well hit. For a moment, I thought maybe that Adam Eaton was going to be able to track it down and catch it, but it just went over the top of the fence. It's going to be a walk for Tyler Collins.
And for Eric Johnson, that's the 8th home run he's given up. And that's in 34 innings of work. That is a high total. See him at the 85 pitch mark. So that's the 3rd walk issued by Eric Johnson.
All this happening in the top of the 6th. 2-1. Both teams with 4 hits. For Castellanos, who's 0 for 2, fly to left in the 2nd, fly to center in the 4th. Castellanos got a big signing bonus when he was coming out of school, intended to play for the University of Miami, but then out of high school, the 44th pick, got $3.5 million. Went through a major hitting slump this year at one point. One thing, Steve, you know, I remember doing, about 12, 13 games with you late May, early June for the Hawk. And this really is a marathon. How many teams were struggling in that late May, June? I mean, remember we saw Toronto, and granted they hadn't made the Tulowitzki trade nor David Price, but they were just trying to hang on in the AL East. There was not a lot of separation, but nonetheless they were struggling.
You know, don't forget Ben Revere, because a lot of people do.
Yes.
The trade deadline, and Toronto just turned it on. And obviously a magnificent year for the Blue Jays. They're playing Tampa Bay. They're leading 3-2.
But it really is a marathon with 162 games.
It's for the very strong-minded individuals, because to play a full season in the major leagues, you have to, number one, play through pain, because you're going to get hurt. Everybody does. Play through pain and try not to get distracted by anything, because if you get distracted, you're not going to be able to play as well as you can. There's a lot of guys, Chuck, that will make a great living, and they do make a great living, playing for teams that finish up the track, but have a hard time playing for teams that play meaningful games from the middle of August to the end of September. You find it, I'm sure, in the NBA, you find a lot of guys able to score for teams that aren't going to win.
Cold 3rd strike, and the inning has come to a close, but the Tigers plate 2 on Cabrera's 2-run blast of Eric Johnson, and we go to the bottom of the 6th there in Chicago, 2-1 Detroit.
97999 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu from Subway. Message and data rates may apply. Subway, eat fresh.
Chuck Swirsky, Steve Stone. The Hawk returns tomorrow for the season finale against the same Detroit Tigers. Abreu will lead off. Sox have some work to do now, trailing 2-1 after Cabrera with a 2-run bomb in the top of the inning. Each team with 4 hits. Tigers with an error that was fumbled away by Verlander, who's on the mound. Verlander with pitch number 88 just registered.
Well, Verlander is looking in at Adrian Johnson saying, where was that? Because that ball had the plate. And now Verlander is yelling at Adrian Johnson. Alex Avila trying to make sure that he gets in the way of Johnson to make sure that his pitcher isn't given the heave-ho.
Verlander has struck out 7, has not walked a batter. Steve, I'm sure from time to time during your career you had a disagreement or two with an umpire. You certainly don't want to show him up. But, I mean, how would you convey or communicate your frustrations with an umpire?
You just look in. You make a gesture as far as, was it too high, too low, whatever the case may be. And maybe as you're walking off after the inning, you just go up to him and say, look, I thought it was a pretty good pitch. He usually told you that I thought it was off the plate. Some umpires actually would admit that they missed him in those days. They don't admit that any longer, although you can't call every pitch right. Just impossible to do that. So Verlander thought it was a pretty good pitch. It actually was, but, you know, you don't get all the pretty good pitches.
2-2 count on Jose, who's 0 for 2. I'll recall that American League playoff series with Boston and Oakland when Roger Clemens, you know, had some issues with the home plate umpire. I think he got tossed, if I'm not mistaken. The ball is going to be hung up for the center fielder. Goes, makes the grab, and Abreu is retired. He's now 0 for 3. It's going to bring on now Melky.
On our Xfinity Speed replay, we'll take a look at Melky's double coming in the first inning, driving home the lone run of the ball game. That was Adam Eaton, who had singled and stolen a base. So Melky driving in run number 77, got the Sox off on the right foot, but that's been the only Sox run of the game. Speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
We have one out here in the bottom of the 6th. Steve, here's a tweet from Matthew Luque. He wants to know what the White Sox have to do in the offseason.
Get better. But I'll answer the question by talking about, let's talk about Team A. Okay, so Team A, which is a baseball team in the major leagues, not in the playoffs, and going through what every team not going to the playoffs is going through at this point. And that is, you have a lot of meetings with people who are paramount to your organization, the inner sanctum of the organization, and you figure out just exactly how you got to where you were this particular year. Then you identify the areas that you would like to get better. Then you have to prioritize, because you can figure out the problems. The question is, how much resources are we going to have to try to fill those problems? And you figure out, you prioritize. Okay, this is our number 1 priority. This would be number 2, number 3. Who do we have to deal? Then you say, okay, this guy we have to deal, this guy, perhaps this guy. And then you go and figure out just exactly how you're going to get what you have to get. So as Melky is called out on strikes, let's say that your number 1 priority, again, this is Team A, not a specific team. Your number 1 priority would be a left-handed power hitter. So you say to yourself, 1, who's coming on the market as far as free agency is concerned, and they all have a list. That's subject to change, because some teams will go out and sign guys right away that are going to be free agents, so they come off the list. But then you have to figure out who you can afford, what you might have to give up in a trade if you can't get a free agent, and again, you prioritize. Every general manager knows just exactly what their team needs, but the question is, how many dollars have they allocated for it? What kind of trading material do they have to trade away? And are you willing to make this deal, which ostensibly will weaken you in one spot only to get better in another spot? And every team is going through the same thing, the same evaluation process right now as Team A. You didn't make the playoffs. Let's figure out why. You throw out the end result because that's history. When this season ends, it will be history. Throw out the end result, figure out how you got there, and figure out how you can avoid getting there next year. And every team is doing pretty much the same thing. And you do it with computer printouts. You do it with the feeling. You listen to scouts. And, you know, some teams, again, you want to fill 3 or 4 different holes. You don't have enough trading material. You don't have enough dollars to get there. So, again, you say, okay, this is what we can afford to get. This is where we have to be. Who can we bring in? And then you wait and see who's available. But it's not an exact science. Everybody believes the move they're going to make is going to make their team stronger. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. So, you know, it's something that every team goes through, and it's evaluating every asset you have and just exactly looking forward how you want to make your team better. You always trade from strength. You don't trade from weakness, and that way it works out well for you.
2-2 pitch to Trace Thompson. We have 2 outs now. The count is full at 3-2. Well, that opens up a follow-up. And let's see what happens here to Thompson, because I've got a question about that, and it was beautifully stated by you regarding, you know, the mindset of a general manager going in to an off season. Thompson draws a walk here. So let me ask you this. Steve, you know, we all play the role of a GM. We're all fans. I get that.
That's what makes the game great.
It is. And you know what? In the make-believe world, hey, it's great to play fantasy baseball, but we don't. So, I mean, people always say, why don't you trade your best star? You get 5 prospects.
Yeah, that would be terrific, except that you can't always do that because most teams aren't going to give you multiple top-of-the-line prospects. Just not going to do it, especially in this day and age where free agents cost you a fortune.
Alexi is 0 for 2. Thompson on with the tying run. Tigers with a 2-1 lead. Verlander and Eric Johnson have pitched terrific ball tonight. Well, see, what happens if you're a GM and you're just that one missing piece away, and you can say, you know what, I'm going to, for example, Detroit, Dave Dombrowski, you know, he was that missing piece away. He made some trades to get the Tigers in a World Series against St. Louis and San Francisco, respectively. And he said, you know, I'm that one missing piece, and I'm going to surrender a couple of really good prospects that are going to reach the big league level. They know that.
Well, take a look at the perfect example of Billy Beane, who had been to the playoffs many times. Last year, he felt that he was a couple of pitchers away. So he figured that if he gets John Lester and he gets Jeff Samardzija and he gets Jason Hamill, he's going to be in good shape going into the playoffs, especially you're going to be now 3 deep in your starting rotation to go with Sonny Gray. So you're 4 deep. Well, a funny thing happens on the way to that long playoff run. You get in the one-and-done game, and you're done. Kansas City knocks you out. So now you've given up Addison Russell, the premier player in your organization, Billy McKinney, who's a pretty good outfielder. You've given them up to make you run in the playoffs, and you're eliminated in the one-and-done game. That is the precarious position of every general manager. You want to go for it, but you'd love to go for it as a division winner so that you at least are not involved in the one-and-done wild card game. If you are, then you run the risk of having happened what happened to Billy Beane. He didn't get there, and look what a player Addison Russell's become. And wouldn't Billy Beane love to have Addison Russell? But he decided he had to go for it because he was close. You can't fault him for that.
No, you can't.
But as a general manager, Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, that's what you look for, a team that has a certain amount of desperation to get there, and then you exploit them as far as a deal is concerned. He had gave him 2 pitchers. You got back a guy that's going to be your everyday shortstop for a long time in Addison Russell.
Yeah, Russell's what, 21, 22 years young.
21, I believe, knocked at the door at 22.
Ball and 2 strikes. And it's a 2-2 count on Ramirez. Well, you have to be somewhat of a risk taker in this business. You're not going to bat 1,000 as a GM, and I get that. Fans understand that. But you have to eventually have a plus side. But you know, in the case of Billy Beane, you're right. He had a chance to go for it. He went for it. He came up short.
Yeah, that's how this game goes. You just hope to make more good ones than you make bad ones. But if you don't make any bad ones, it means you're not making any deals.
Off speed, it's 3-2 with 2 outs.
My feeling is next year is not promised to anybody. So when you have a chance to go for it, you better go for it, because I think back to baseball teams that were in line for a long run of success, only to see them decimated by injuries, and that long run of success lasted the 1 year that you were successful.
3-2 pitch to Ramirez. Swung on to right. The wind's going to make havoc there down the right field line into the corner. Coming around to score is Trace Thompson, and we have a 2-2 ball game here in Chicago. Alexei Ramirez with an RBI double.
RBI number 62, and the walk to Thompson comes back to Bernd Verlander. He got this fastball right over the middle of the plate, and Alexei was able to take it down the line. The wind just knocked it down. Fortunately, it stayed fair, and as it rattled around in the corner, Moya had no chance to get it back in time to cut down Trace Thompson. And so with only 1 run scored through 5, the Tigers had 2 in the top of the 6th. The Sox answer with 1 here in the bottom of the 6th.
And for the White Sox, their 5th hit on the night for Rob Brantley, who's 0 for 2. Grounded out to second in the 2nd and the 1st in the 4th. Nice backhanded stab by Avila on an inside pitch to Brantley. The go-ahead runner Ramirez at second. 2-2 ball game here in the bottom of the 6th. Verlander with 8 strikeouts and a walk. This is his 111th pitch coming up.
Drew Verhagen loosening up in the pen.
So how long do you go now with Verlander?
Probably as long as Verlander wants to go. He's the star of your pitching staff. He is, however, at the 111 pitch mark. He's used to going into the 120s, and this is the last start of the year for him.
So you think certain pitchers have reached that point because of what they've accomplished in the past, and that they can basically tell the manager or the pitching coach, hey, listen, you know what? I know my body. I know the arm. I'm good for another inning.
Oh, sure. I mean, good managers will always let their star pretty much tell them exactly when he's had enough or when he's got some more left. In the case of Verlander, he's probably good into 120 pitches, maybe 120 plus. I mean, earlier in his career it would be 130 pitches.
Yeah, that's correct.
And he would go out there and probably threw more pitches than anybody in the game on a yearly basis.
Well, lately I've seen a couple of animated discussions. Mattingly with the Dodgers with Kershaw this week, along with Scherzer and Matt Williams.
Well, Scherzer's going to be here next year. Here being Washington. Matt is not.
No. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Ramirez on at second. 2-2 ball game.
By the way, Scherzer still has his no-hitter with 1 out in the 8th inning. In New York against the Mets in a game the Mets really would love to win. Pretty much have to win.
Check of the runner. Here is Verlander with the pitch. Yeah, you know, Steve, we talk about disappointing ball clubs, and we're looking at 2 with the White Sox and Tigers and a cluster of them, but I think the biggest disappointment of baseball this year had to be Washington.
A lot of people.
I mean, Bryce Harper is going to
really
win
good baseball
MVP.
people.
And if you told me, look at the numbers, and you say, wow, look at the numbers for Bryce Harper, you would think, hey, Washington is going to win the East. They're going to make some noise in the playoffs. Look at them.
Well, I talked to Mike Rizzo, and he said defensively it was just a very bad year for his club. Mike Rizzo is the general manager of the Washington Nationals. Just about as disappointed as anybody around because he put the team together, and most of the people gave not only the division, not only the National League East, but penciled them in going to the World Series. And many of them had them winning the World Series because of their pitching staff.
We'll see what Brantley can do here against Verlander. It's a 3-2 count with 2 outs. Well, you know, the vibe also, I'm reading all these stories now, and again, you know, based on the reports coming out of D.C., the locker room, the clubhouse, whatever you want to call it, Steve, it wasn't very good. It wasn't advantageous to a healthy foundation for success.
Well, that's why I believe the next guy coming in is going to be a veteran manager. He's not going to turn it over to a first-timer.
Well, there are a few veteran managers out there. Bo Porter, who reportedly interviewed for the Miami job.
Yeah.
Dusty Baker is out there. Ozzie Guillen is out there. Ron Gardenhire is out there. So teams that are going to be shopping around for a manager, those are some pretty good names.
There's another guy out there by the name of Bud Black.
Yes.
Bear him in mind because he most likely will be getting a job somewhere. So Verlander about ready to deliver pitch number 31 this inning. Pitch number 118 for the game.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. The pitch. Another foul ball.
And Brantley giving him a battle.
Yeah, I love it.
This is going to be the 10th pitch of the at-bat.
Now, Steve, when you're on the mound and you've been in a case where you have battled and you're going through 9 pitches, 11 pitches, and take us through what a pitcher's thinking right now.
Well, in a game that's meaningless to you, you just hit the hitter. Get the at bat over with. But look, you just have to keep pumping strikes. Hopefully, he decides to put one in play and gets the at bat over with. But there's Brad Osmus talking with his pitching coach, Jeff Jones.
And so, but in the case, let's say it was a playoff game or a game with Ready on the line, and you go through 11
pitches. You just keep throwing strikes, Chuck. There's nothing else you can do. You hope that he puts one in play. There is no secret formula. You can't invent a pitch. And in this case, he keeps throwing strikes, and Brantley keeps fouling him back. This is going to be pitch number 11 in this at bat. And as you can see, through 10 pitches, he's thrown them everywhere.
This is the 120th pitch coming up for Verlander here. 2-2 ball game.
And he keeps fouling him off.
Well, Brantley's doing his job, and regardless of the outcome with this at bat, Brantley has made Verlander work and taken some pitches off if, in fact, he goes the 7th inning.
The only question here is if he doesn't get Brantley, will Brad Osmus allow him to continue, because he is very deep into his performance tonight. Pitch number 121 on the way.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Well, I'll tell you what, love the battle going on there. Verlander with his 9th K on the night. He could be done. We'll find out in a moment. We go to the 7th 2-2 ball game here in Chicago on WGN TV. After the Sox score 5 or more runs, you get 50% off your entire online order at papajohns.com with the promo code SOX5 at participating Papa John's locations. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. And we start the 7th inning for the Tigers with a base hit to right field. So, leadoff man on base, Moya.
Well, just guessing, and we saw Moya in Detroit. You throw him low and you've got some big problems. He's got 2 base hits. Pretty much have both been in the same spot. You got a classic uppercut swing. You got to throw him letter high. If you do, you're going to throw it by him. If you throw him down, he's going to hit the ball pretty hard, and he's 2 for 3 tonight.
So the Tigers with the go-ahead man on here at a 2-2 ball game. Each team with 5 hits. And a bunt by Machado out in front. Eric Johnson with the underhand scoop. The first covering is Sanchez. He did his job with a sack. And that moves Moya to second with it out. We got Robin Ventura going to the mound.
Zach Duke is coming in to face Alex Avila. So as Zach comes in, we'll step out and be back after these messages. '71st time, 3-6, 3.45 ERA. Opponent's hitting just .220, and he is indeed going to face Alex Avila. And then Anthony Gose. 2 left-hand hitters, unless Osmus decides to use Rajay Davis to pinch hit for Gose. With that in mind, the Sox do have a right-hander in the pen.
Zach Duke in his first season with the White Sox against Avila, who is 0 for 2. Hard to believe that Avila, boy, I'll tell you what, that elevator ride down has been tough for Avila, who was an all-star, and in fact he started the all-star game in 2011, won a Silver Slugger Award.
He's really been beaten up the last few years.
Concussions and whatnot, yeah. You're right.
Because he was a very good player. Still a great handler of pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly love to throw to him. But hitting on the interstate, they call it, which is anything under 200, it's pretty tough in a full season.
Chopper over to first, covering unassisted on the play. Jose. Runner moves over to third, and Moya with 2 outs. So Ghost, who's 0 for 2, struck out in the first and third, walked in the sixth, and scored a run in a 2-2 ball game here.
Holt is in on the grass because Ghost will occasionally bunt. Let's take that away from him.
Steve, you have to have the right player. I get that, but where has bunting gone, in your opinion, in this game?
The fundamentals of it are abominable for the most part.
Now, why would you say that?
Because don't forget, we're coming out of a slug ball era of baseball. The era dominated by performance-enhancing drugs, where everybody tried to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And bunting and small ball and fundamental baseball really went by the boards. Now we're seeing it revert. Now I would expect that with fewer home runs hit and more teams trying to manufacture runs, I think we're going to see a brand of baseball more like the old school baseball than the let's just get up and hit the ball out of the ballpark baseball.
Moya on at third base, the responsibility of Johnson, who left the ball game for Duke. Eric struck out 4, walked 3, this time on the mound.
Threw 6 in the third and threw the ball very well. Gave up just 5 hits, and would certainly love to see Moya stranded at third.
Cold strike 3 as Ghost goes down, striking out for the third time of the night. As we go to the bottom of the 7th at the moment, 2-2 ball game right here on WGN TV. And welcome back. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the Hawk, who returns tomorrow in the season finale of the 2015 campaign, alongside my main man Steve Stone, who does a fabulous job. And I know our White Sox viewers certainly appreciate the expertise that Steve brings night after night after night. The White Sox right now trying to get a run here. Tell me about the new Detroit pitcher.
Well, I'll tell you, the numbers are pretty impressive. We saw him in Detroit. He threw the ball well. Drew Verhagen, 2-0, 2.22 ERA out for the 20th time. With opponents hitting just 207, that's a really good number, but control very much a factor for him. Sometimes it just eludes him.
As Garcia is 1 for 2.
Be nice to push one across as Verlander's night is done. He threw the ball very well, but he'll leave with a no decision.
Will flare it into right field, will drop in for Garcia, his second hit on the night for Avi. And so the leadoff man is aboard for the White Sox here at a 2-2 ball game with Holt at the plate.
Verlander threw the ball very well. He went 6 innings, gave up the 2 runs, gave up only 5 hits, And all in all, in the final performance of the year, he threw the ball exceptionally well. And the big news out of New York is that Max Scherzer has thrown his second no-hitter this year.
Wow.
His first coming on June 20th against Pittsburgh. Tonight, it's a nightcap of a twin bill against the Mets in New York. At one point, coming down to the end, and I don't know what he did with Curtis Granderson, but he struck out 9 men in a row. And Granderson popped out to complete the no-hitter. 2 in 1 year for Max Scherzer.
Little looper on the infield. Kinsler with the grab. I'll have to ask Joe in the truck the last time a pitcher threw 2 no-hitters in the same season.
Well, you're going to be about a minute and a half late, because I already asked him.
Aha.
So I'm sure he is
Other
on
than
it.
Johnny Vandermeer, who pitched back-to-back no-hitters.
Yeah,
we know that. But I'm wondering if Nolan
that's a while
Ryan,
ago.
Yeah. But I wonder if Nolan Ryan did that. We'll have to wait. We'll find out. A little trivia here for you. So stick around with the White Sox. Let's go ring on Sanchez, who's 0 for 2. Garcia on at first. White Sox 8-9 against the Tigers in the 2015 campaign. And they'll wrap it up for good tomorrow. Sox have lost 7 out of their last 10. And Detroit has lost 5 out of their last 6. Sanchez, recalled early in the season, established himself defensively. Still has some things to work on offensively, but has played much better of late at the plate. Showing a little pop in his bat, playing with a little bit more confidence as well.
In another meaningful game in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati leads 3-1 in the top of the 8th inning. Cincinnati trying to break a 13-game losing streak. Well, that's a terrific way as the ball gets away, and there's a go-ahead run at second base. So we talked about the control of Verhagen, and that could be a very costly wild pitch, his first of the year.
Two and 1 to count, and Avila is going to the mound to talk to Verhagen. Well, Detroit has a lot of young kids in this bullpen. In fact, Steve, they have used 18 pitchers out of the bullpen this season. 18.
That's been one of the big problems for the Tigers the last few years. And they have been unable to solve it.
Outside, it's going to be 3-1 with an out here. Go ahead run on at second and Sanchez, or rather on Garcia with Sanchez at the plate. Adam Eaton on deck. Eaton with a couple of base hits tonight. Inside, and he walked him. So now the Sox with runners at first and second for Adam Eaton.
Jake Petrichka loosening in the pen. Very nice job by Zach Duke. Came in, and as he's done a whole lot of this year, he got the job done. So Kinsler has a word with Verhagen.
I wonder if he's just buying time there, Steve.
Well, I'm not sure who he's buying it for, because I can't see anybody throwing in the pen.
Well, they're starting to get somebody up, it looks like. So Adam Eaton 2 for 3, singled in the first and third, struck out in the fifth, and scored a run.
Usually in a situation with only one out, what Kinsler probably did was tell him exactly who's going to cover second base if a ball's hit back to him.
Old strike.
I stopped by Avila as Joe Grube tells us that Roy Halladay threw 2 in 2010. 1 in the regular season, 1 in the postseason.
Now I'm really going to make Joe work now. So we have 1 regular, 1 post.
To find out 2
I want to
in the regular season.
Okay, Joe, if you can do that. Nolan Ryan, 1973. Now it was one against Detroit.
That year.
Here's Eaton. The scoop. 4, 6, 3 safe. So now Garcia is on at third, and we have 2 outs.
Machado got really lucky in that. I'm not sure why he made that throw. There was really very little chance to get Adam Eaton. This ball is a high chopper. Eaton's going to beat the play easily, and he's fortunate that Cabrera was able to pick the short hop. Otherwise, Sox are going to go ahead. Sometimes you just got to know when to hold the ball and not risk a throw that could cost you the game.
So with 2 outs, it's going to bring on Jose Abreu, who's 0 for 3. Go ahead runner now, Garcia at third with 2 outs. We've got activity going on right now in the bullpen for Detroit.
Probably the one thing you don't want to see here is you don't want to see Adam Eaton stealing second base. The reason is if he does, you're going to take the bat right out of the hands of Jose Abreu, who you would like to see hit in this situation.
Here's the pitch. Healthy swing out of this.
Now the Tiger pen going. The longest name in the business, Al Albuquerque.
Love it.
Loosening up with Tom Gorzolani, not a particularly short name in his own right.
Nice stop in front by Vila. Vila is unsigned next year, and you know what, Steve? He's going to get some offers if he doesn't return with Detroit. A lot of people are going to be looking at him because of the way he handles his staff.
And left-hand hitting catchers are very valuable.
1-1 pitch with 2 outs. Runners at first and third for the White Sox here.
That ball way out of the zone, and Jose expanded that zone. No contact. Curveball in the dirt, and Avila drops down, smothers it nicely.
One and two with 2 outs. Swing at a miss. He struck him out. Abreu now 0 for 4. Verhagen gets the job done. Sox strand runners at first and third. And we go to the 8th for the moment on WGN TV.
6, struck out 9, and threw the ball very well. Miguel Cabrera hit a 2-run homer, 408 of his career. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda, now at your Honda dealer. So Jake Petrichka comes into the ball game, and the game is now in his hands as he becomes a pitcher of record. 4-3 ERA, 3.71 on for the 62nd time.
So for the Tigers, go ahead, Steve.
In a no-hitter, Max Scherzer struck out 17 Mets, faced one over the minimum, and just a brilliant performance.
I wonder what the season high is for strikeouts by a pitcher this season. We're going to put Joe Grube to work. Joe, you know what? You just might as well be getting locked in tonight. I know you always are. Member of our great production staff. We're going to see Joe in a couple of days with the Bulls against the Bucks.
The only man to reach base on an error by Escobar on a throw.
Oh. Here's a one bouncer charging him. Ramirez rifles over the first. Kinsler retired. That's going to bring on Miggy Cabrera, who's 2 for 3.
And our fourth drive of the game came in the 6th. Opposite field 2-run homer. At the time, it put the Tigers up 2-1. Sox eventually came back with a run of their own in the 6th to tie it up, and that's where we stand.
As Cabrera, who is 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer you just saw, now batting in American League at .336 on his way to win his 4th batting crown in 5 years, 2-time MVP and a 5-time Silver Slugger Award. Here's a base hit to left field. So Cabrera will stroll into first base. You know, he made his major league debut, Steve, in mid-2003 with Marlins at the age of 20. It was Ozzie Guillen who encouraged him to move from shortstop to third base. Ozzie was a coach with the Marlins at the time.
I saw it up close and personal. I was there.
Yes, you were.
Watching him come into the league and was astounded just how good he was. And in fact, into the playoffs that year, they put him in right field. He'd never played it before. And here at the most important time of the year for the Marlins, they take a young kid and put him in a position he never played, and he just excelled.
Just got word from Joe Grube out, the pitcher with the most strikeouts recorded. And Corey Kluber of Cleveland had 18 against St. Louis. Kluber has really struggled this month. He lost 16 ball games and yet registered over 200 strikeouts. And that he became the first pitcher to do that, Steve, since Nolan Ryan. So J.D. Martinez stepping in with Cabrera on at first with one out here in the 8th. J.D. Martinez 1 for 3. They list, Steve, Miguel Cabrera at 6'4", 240. Now, when you saw him come into the big leagues 12 years ago, what was he a thin kid, or has he filled out, or has he always been that kind of stocky frame?
He was just a big guy.
Yeah.
I don't think that he was, well, I think he's heavier than 240 now. He certainly wasn't that then. But they knew he could play because when he was originally signed as a 16-year-old, I believe they gave him $1.6 million.
3 balls and a strike. Swung on to right field. This is deep near the corner. Garcia makes the grab, and Cabrera has to hold on to first base.
I think you can thank the wind for that one, because without the wind, that's probably gone.
He stopped by the Chi Sox Bar and Grill at U.S. Cellular Field. Chi Sox Bar and Grill offers a full menu from Gibson's Restaurant Group. Features 70 flat screens, HD TVs, open 4 hours prior to all home games. Chi Sox Bar and Grill located at Gate 5 Plaza. So even though the Tigers list him at 240, you think he's a little bit more than 240? That's why in the Bulls media guide, Steve, they actually list me at 6'9".
Well, the same guy that made that assessment is chalking him in at 240.
We have 2 outs here. Old charges in, the throw. Did he get him? No.
Little bobble on the part of Mike Olt, and that's all it took, as Collins was able to beat the play.
So Collins aboard safely. That's going to be a base hit.
Right there, just in trying to grab it, and this is a tough play to make.
Yeah.
Good scoop by Jose. Anytime you get one off the grass, you're going to get a true hop. That's not a difficult ball to pick. And Collins able to beat the play and keep the inning alive.
So with 2 outs now, runners at first and second. Castellanos is 0 for 3 tonight.
And this is where a pitcher has to go away from his strength, which is down for Jake Petrichka. That's his strength. Making it sink, keeping it down, running it inside and down, and go to the hitter's weakness, which is up to Castellanos.
That's an inside pitch, 1-0. 2-7-1 for Detroit, 2-6-0 for the White Sox. Both starters, Johnson along with Verlander, will receive a no decision tonight. Verlander struck out 9. Eric Johnson got his job done in his season finale after coming up from AAA Charlotte. Ball gets past Brantley, and the runners advance.
So Romine scoots into third base, putting runners at second and third. And it does go as a wild pitch. So Jake keeps the ball down. Rob Brantley tries to backhand it and does not get it done.
Now it's 2-0 count on Castellanos. Romine, by the way, a very valuable player as he's coming to run now. He's at third base with a go-ahead run. Very solid utility player. Good man to have at a ball club. Here's the pitch. Takes a cold strike. Castellanos does. Fly ball to right. Garcia camps under it and makes the grab. Tigers strand 2. We go to the bottom of the 8th here. 2-2 ball game coming up for the White Sox. Melton along with Thompson and Ramirez on WGN TV. Sure, I love filling in for the Hawk as we tap into the knowledge of Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone, and an opportunity as well to get the sights and sounds from our White Sox television production crew. They do such a great job. We're in a 2-2 ball game, Steve, in the bottom of the 8th inning. Romine has come on to play first base. Pinch ran for Miggy Cabrera.
And Cabrera certainly had a full night. He was 3 for 4. The only time that he was retired was a line drive rocket. Carlos Sanchez at second base, and his 2-run homer. He only runs for the Tigers.
Here's the pitch. See what the White Sox can do here. Cabrera, the designated hitter tonight, he's 1 for 3 with an RBI. He struck out twice, hitting .274. Grounder bobbled by Castellanos. The throw, did he get him? See! That's got to be an error.
I would assume so. He was right in the way of it. It'll be the 11th error of the year. And even though Castellanos has made some improvement, this ball hits the heel of the glove. He tried to stay with it, but Melky was able to beat the play at first. Now he gives way to Leury Garcia, so the potential winning run represented by the speedy person of Leury Garcia.
Yes. And when I say that should be there, I should always hesitate, Steve, because you never know with official scores. And we all love Bob Rosenberg. Rosie. Bob Rosenberg has done year after year after year here for the White Sox, also works across town. But with the Bulls, you know, he's only missed one game in the history of the Bulls. We're going on our 50th season.
That's absolutely astounding, seeing as they ask him to miss more.
Trace Thompson, who's up for 2. That's right. They changed the locks at the door in the old Chicago Stadium. See, that's why they actually moved to the United Center and they tore down Chicago Stadium.
They didn't tell Rosie where they were moving
no,
to.
That's right.
But he found him.
Well, the White Sox are trying to find the go-ahead run here in the bottom of the 8th inning. As Melky reaches base on the error by Castellanos. See what Trace Thompson could do here. 1-0 pitch. Garcia takes off, slides in head first, and is in there with a stolen base. And the White Sox now with nobody out, and Garcia the lead run at second. And you're right, he's got some blazing speed.
Oh, Leury has got a good base running technique as well as some speed. The throw into dirt, and no chance for Kinsler to pick it, but a good heads-up play by Machado, who's backing him up, as the only problem Leury had was extricating himself from his own helmet. Now, interestingly enough, the Angel game ended on a stolen base, and Elvis Andrus overslid the bag. He was safe at second base in a 1-run game, overslid the bag, and they held the glove on him. He was tagged out. We've seen that more and more these days as guys go in head first, slide over the bag, not able to hook it with their leg, and a good heads-up second baseman or shortstop keeps a glove on him only to get the out.
That was a wild ball game. Here it's a 2-1 count to Trace Thompson. Swung on, ground ball to third. Castellanos looks Garcia back to the bag and throws over the first to Romine.
There's one of the things that probably will change next year, and that is runner at second base, nobody out. Regardless of what you do, you've got to get the runner to third. That's the potential winning run, and not a good at bat for a guy who's had a lot of good at bats this year, Trace Thompson.
So Alexei at 1 for 3. Now it's his opportunity with a runner in scoring position in Garcia in a 2-2 ball game. That wind continues to howl here at U.S. Cellular Field. And yet, if you think about this, Steve, the 2 errors by Detroit tonight have been in the infield. One by Castellanos, the other by Verlander.
Amazing, huh?
Well, with the wind, you would think, with the outfield and whatnot with players trying to challenge.
No, I think pop-ups are a challenge to either team. It doesn't matter infield or outfield.
So let's see what Alexi can do here with a 1-1 count with 1 out.
Alexi's double slicing away from Moya in right field was able to score Thompson. And that was a tying run.
It's a 1-2 count now on Ramirez. Steve, you've seen this over and over again with the White Sox dealing with stranded runners. The frustration mounts after a while. I mean, Sox have allowed only 2 runs tonight.
There you see Jones and Jennings loosening in the pen.
Big ground ball to third. Castellanos again over to first. The White Sox now with 2 outs and Garcia on at third.
Well, the obvious big advantage with having Leury there is it might take away the real good curveball from Verhagen. Because if he does bounce one in the dirt, it's going to be pretty tough for Avila to corral. So if you're Brantley, you're thinking about a fastball, certainly.
The White Sox with the opportunity to get the go-ahead run here in the 8th inning, unable to get the ball out of the infield the last 2 batters. It's a cold strike on Rob Brantley, who's 0 for 3. Brantley behind the plate tonight. Tyler Flowers will shut it down.
Now Leury can get a tremendous lead at third base because Castellanos is way off the bag. You can get as big a lead as he is off the third base bag. And he's thrown 2 curveballs, but they haven't been in the dirt.
Sox have struck out 10 times tonight, 9 by Verlander. 0-2 pitch, 2 outs. Garcia on at third in a 2-2 ball game here in the 8th. Series finale tomorrow afternoon.
Season finale.
Yep. And Brantley, who really battled Verlander. What was that, Steve? About 11, 12 pitches?
I think a 12 pitch at bat. That was a great at bat. Now, Verlander wound up winning the battle as he fanned him, but he hung around for a long time. That was the last batter that Justin Verlander faced. He got him over 120 pitches.
Romine with the flip to the covering Verhagen, and that will end it. White Sox again cannot get it done offensively. Story of the season. So it's a 2-2 ball game. We'll return in a moment on WGN TV.
in the high threes, on for the 52nd time. There you look at the numbers. The first man he's going to look at is the very dangerous Rajai Davis, who's coming on a pinch hit for Steven Moya. Moya had a couple of hits, and Davis started the ball game last night. Rajai was 0 for 4 in last night's game.
His second year with the Tigers after stops with Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Oakland, and Toronto. In his 112th game, batting .258. Going to see that 6 consecutive seasons of 30 or more stolen bases come to a halt in 2015. As a free agent at the end of the year, it takes a ball to start here. The 9th inning of play. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the Hawk, who returns tomorrow in the season finale alongside Steve Stone. .2-0 count from Jennings to Rajai Davis. .3-0 as Davis has seen much more action of late since the Cespedes trade, and he's responded. 6 homers, 17 RBIs, batting .270. Good, solid journeyman veteran outfielder.
And with 18 stolen bases, he would be the last guy you'd want to walk as a potential go-ahead run in the 9th.
Yes.
But walk him he did.
Well, on 4 pitches. Keep up with the pennant races in true HD quality on MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. College students, hey, enjoy a back-to-school offer with a 35% off discount. Authorization required. In other words, you got to be a college student. Blackouts and other restrictions apply. Sorry, Steve, that doesn't pertain to you.
Oh, are you kidding?
You got that degree from Kent State, the Golden Flashes. That was a Mac guy from Ohio University. The Harvard on the hockey.
Oh, geez. The guys that couldn't get into Kent wound up at Ohio University.
I thought that's what they said about Miami of Ohio.
No, I don't think anybody could get in Miami.
No,
It was very high educational standards.
Yes, of course. All you have to do is ask Adam Eaton.
Yes. We, of course, our requirement was that you had a pulse.
Yeah. So the leadoff man on Rajai Davis squaring around the bunt. Let's see what the Tigers can do. The push bunt. Jennings runs over and tags Machado. But Machado, just like what you illustrated in the previous half inning, with the White Sox were not able to execute. This time Detroit does.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. His job was to go up there any way he could, get the bunt down. It was a perfect bunt. And move Davis into scoring position, which he did. High fastball, and Jennings decides to take it himself. So Machado has no place to go. And now we're waiting for Brad Ausmus to decide who he wants to put up there in place of Alex Avila.
It looks like
James
McCann is
McCann.
coming out, yeah?
He started last night's game. McCann was 0 for 3. Now we'll see, and Robin comes out once he knows that, oh, this is Don Cooper coming out.
So meeting on the mound here with 1 out in the 9th inning of play, and the Tigers with the go-ahead runner on.
As soon as Don started walking out there, I like what Rajai Davis did. Is he's running backwards and forwards, getting his legs loosened up, taking this opportunity, something he probably didn't have a chance to do before, to make sure that he's good and loose, because obviously on a base hit, they're going to try to score him. So McCann is 2 for 4 as a pinch hitter this year. 1 run driven in. So pretty good numbers for a young hitter to come off the bench. He's going to be an everyday starting catcher, but occasionally asked to do this.
So Davis on at second for McCann. Jennings, the delivery, and a cold strike. Well, in the event Avila leaves, McCann, who's already taken over as the premier catcher right now, the #1 option for Brad Ausmus, and perhaps Holiday will come back in Detroit as his second string catcher. Here's the pitch. Big cut.
You could do a whole lot worse than Avila coming back and becoming the second string catcher. And that would mean that you'd have a trade piece in Holiday.
Avila would have to take a pretty good pay cut, I would assume. No balls, 2 strikes and an out for James McCann. He goes the other way. Right field, Garcia on the run at the track, off the wall. And the Tigers have scored the go-ahead run. And at second base, McCann delivers with an RBI double.
That one got up in the wind and kept slicing away from Avi. Almost left the ballpark. So McCann with his 3rd pinch hit. This is a slider that's down and out over the plate. He goes the other way with it. And Avi gives it a look, but he can't get there. And then he gets trapped too close to the wall. But McCann's going to glide into second base anyway, so at least in that situation didn't hurt him. And Davis, the leadoff walk, comes back to haunt the Sox.
Yes, and Machado with the sack set it up. And that is textbook baseball right there.
Well, look, neither of these teams has gotten the kind of year they expected to get or wanted to get, and certainly they've been disappointments not only to their fandom but to themselves and to the coaches who work just as hard on a team that loses as they do on a team that wins. But it's a pretty good idea to instill in your young players how to play winning baseball, and that means occasionally moving runners up when they're in a position to come back and help you win a ball game. The Tigers were able to do it. The Sox were not.
One out, McCann at second, who just propelled the Tigers to a 3-2 lead. Here in the top of the 9th, Gose is 0 for 3, and it's a 1-2 count on Anthony Gose.
The Tigers don't exactly have that bona fide lockdown closer, so it still could be a very interesting bottom of the 9th.
You better believe it. And Gose goes down swinging for the 4th time tonight. So we have 2 outs here.
And here comes Robin, and he's not going to want to have Jennings face Kinsler. So that's going to be it. As Jones is coming in the game, so as Nate strolls in, we'll step out and be back after these messages. At second base, there you look at the numbers, 3.38 ERA. On for the 19th time. Opponent's hitting just 190 against him. And he's going to be looking in at Ian Kinsler. Kinsler, a very solid player, came in knocking at the door of 300. But after an 0 for 4 night, now he's hitting 297. And 0 for 5 would look awfully good because a 1-run deficit is tough enough. You can ill afford a 2-run deficit.
3-2 Tigers here in the 9th. And that ball.
That's a pass ball.
That is a pass ball by Brantley. And McCann moves over to third. Boy, this 9th inning has imploded for the White Sox in terms of just not executing, and Detroit on the other end with a sac bump by Machado, moving the runner ahead. Then McCann coming off the bench, delivering with a RBI double, scoring Rajai Davis, who was utilized as a pinch hitter by Brad Ausmus. 3-2 Detroit with 2 outs and a 1-1 count for Kinsler, who's 0 for 4. Kinsler started the evening batting .299. Dipped down to .297, so if he wants to hit that 300 mark, he's going to have a number 1 play tomorrow, but he's going to have a big ball game to get that average to 300. Right now, that's the last thing on his mind. He's trying to give his ball club some insurance going into the bottom of the 9th, with the Tigers in front 3-2 as the Tigers with 8 hits and the White Sox with 6.
Outfield straightaway, Alexi playing a straightaway shortstop, and he gets it.
Kinsler whiffs, and we go to the bottom of the 9th. Let's see what the White Sox can do right here on WGN TV.
Card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC. So Neftali Feliz comes in 3-3 and ERA up over 6, on for the 48th time. 10 saves in 16 opportunities, anything but that lockdown closer, with opponents hitting .294 against him, and the Sox looking for 2 runs. Tyler Collins moves to right field. And Rajai Davis goes to left field as Moya was taken down, and James McCann with Avila taken out for a pinch hitter goes in behind the plate. And he came up with the big pinch hit. So when you're a young hitter and you're 3 for 5 as a pinch hitter, that's pretty good.
So again, repeating as Steve mentioned with some changes, Ghost does remain in center field for Detroit as Garcia, who is 2 for 3. White Sox got to get a run here if they want to send this baby into extra innings, or perhaps get a W with a couple of runs here in the bottom of the ninth. Three, 8-2 for Detroit. White Sox 2-6-0. Two and 0.
It's not an easy thing to do, but if Detroit is going to do anything next year, they have got to get themselves a closer.
That has been an Achilles all season long. They've tried everything. High and tight, and it's 3-0. Probably the only pitcher over the last couple 3 years, Steve, that showed any consistency before he just ran out of gas was Joe Nathan.
Joe Nathan was a good closer for a long time, but he got hurt and got hurt again and really couldn't come back to get anything together. Finally, they had to go somewhere else. It looks like J.B. Shuck in the on-deck circle, and he'll come on to hit for Mike Holt.
Here's the 3-1 pitch from Phillies. 3-2 now.
There was a time when the Texas Rangers thought that Neftali Feliz was going to be their closer for a long time, only to lose his spot as a closer, then get hurt. So things haven't been quite as good for him recently.
Big pitch coming up. Check swing, and he's on his way to first. So Garcia is the tying run aboard here, the leadoff man. And we're going to have Tyler Saladino check in as a pinch hitter.
Well, what Robin's going to do, he's going to save J.B. Shuck for an opportunity where he might be able to be better served as opposed to laying one down, and that's what Saladino is most likely in there to do.
Saladino 0 for 2 with a run scored last night, hitless in his last 13 at bats.
He does have 3 sacrifices so far.
Squares around the bunt, pops it up, and he cannot advance.
He's not going to get a fourth one.
Yeah.
Pretty much helped that Romine is a middle infielder, because he comes on and gets this one. When you drop the head of the bat, watch this. The ball is popped up, and unfortunately, no advancement. Now J.B. Shuck comes on a pinch hit.
Shuck at 268. 0 for 3 last night. Made a tumbling catch in right that was unbelievable, to say the least.
Boy, that was outstanding. JB has been the best pinch hitter the Sox have had. He's 7 for 29 with 5 driven in as a pinch hitter.
He's got very good speed. 1-0 count to Shuck. You mentioned Feliz with that Texas Ball Club. Again, when we were down there, Steve, in late May, early June, Joey Gallo was the story of that ball club with the Rangers. They took off. Hamels was acquired, of course, from Philadelphia, but he was going Bannister. The manager was going by committee at that time.
At that point, he didn't have much of a choice.
No, he didn't. And there's a base hit down the right field line. On his way to third. Into the corner. Turning over third. Headed for home. Here's the play at the plate. Safe. And we have a tie ball game at 3. J.B. Shuck with a run-scoring double.
J.B. now with 6 driven in as a pinch hitter. 8 for 30 overall, and he rifles this one by Romine at first. And we talked about the very porous, inconsistent Tiger closer. And Feliz has blown his 7th save in 17 opportunities. Collins gets it back in, but he can't get it back in near in time. And Avi with good speed beats the play.
And now Shuck, the winning run here at second with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th in a 3-3 ball game. Eaton with a couple of hits in 4 at-bats.
Rajay Davis in left field, shading toward the line and fairly shallow. Goes in center field around toward left center.
Oh, 1 count with 1 out. Bottom of the 9th, 3-3 ball game. It's 0-2 now on Adam Eaton. In the on-deck circle, Jose Abreu. Feliz, the delivery. Eaton is popped up, racing near the line. Kinsler in fair territory. And the runner holds Shuck at second for Jose Abreu with 2 outs here.
You have to think first base open, they're going to put him on.
One would think so. Yep, that's exactly what they're going to do.
The fans here giving a robust boo.
We have Louis Garcia, who came on as a runner for Milwaukee. And the Tigers, that bullpen has just been torched. And the White Sox came through here in the bottom of the 9th to tie it up. J.B. Shuck double. So an intentional pass for Abreu. All this happening with 2 outs now. Abreu at first, Shuck the go-ahead run, winning run at second for Louis Garcia. Garcia, this is 18th ball game. No homers, 1 RBI, has 1 career home run. He's 2 for 13.
Now Jeff Jones coming out. He wants a word with Neftali Feliz, giving him whatever benefit of a scouting report they have on Leury Garcia. Trace Thompson in the on-deck circle. And the outfield will have somewhat of an advantage here in that they'll be able to play more shallow than they normally would be playing. So they might indeed have a play at the plate, but J.B. Shuck has very good speed, and right now nobody's paying any attention to him out at second base.
First and second for the White Sox. Bottom of the 9th, 3-3 ball game. High ball 1.
Leary does give you great flexibility. You can play center field, you can play all three outfield positions. He's a shortstop by trade, can play second base certainly, and has a very strong arm.
1-1 count coming up now from Phillies. Blew the save. Steve Stone mentioned his 7th. Two outs here in the 9th. Two and one.
Well, that was a break because that ball had the entire plate.
Two and one with 2 outs. First and second for the White Sox. Shuck the go-ahead winning run. So 2 and 2 with 2 outs. And that's through the hole. Rounding third. Shuck. Here's the play at the plate. Shuck dives. White Sox win it.
Leury Garcia, who came in the game as a pinch runner, only to have an at-bat that ends the game. He hits it by Machado into left field. Rajay Davis does not have the strongest arm around. And J.B. Shuck, who's double tied the game, scores the winning run. So a very happy moment for Leury Garcia, the entire White Sox ball club, as they come back from 1 down in the 9th inning, and Leury ends it with a single to left.
We're going to take a break. In a moment, we'll return from U.S. Cellular Field. White Sox beat the Tigers tonight in thrilling fashion, 4-3 on WGN TV.